All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. As I fix the camera a little bit here, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you're new. Appreciate you guys joining me today. It is Tuesday, August 4th. Still no GTA 6 gameplay, guys. No GTA 6 gameplay. Something's burning back there. Beast of Reincarnation isn't that great of a game. We're going to talk about that. It seems to be an okay to good game. Nothing great or crazy. We'll talk about that. Thursday, Sean? Are you Thursday for GTA? Why? Did I miss something? Thursday. Thursday GTA 6 gameplay. I believe it. I don't even need any proof. I just believe it. Titus, what's up, man? Irfin, Ray, Verco, Toolman, Prince, Buzz. What is going on? Michael says MBG. Why is that music? Can you guys hear the music in the background, by the way? I don't know if it's too loud. Let me know if you hear it. MBG, it bothers me that every time you bring up Intergalactic, it has a negative connotation to it. You have to have faith that it will be great, despite every other game they've put out is great. Well, just to elaborate on that, Michael, I think that I think it will be great. So there's like two sides of it, right? On one side, there's just speaking about Intergalactic objectively, which objectively speaking, Naughty Dog has not made a bad video game. They've made great to amazing video games consistently. Quality-wise, that is a fact. Not saying you have to like it. You got ads. Hold on. God damn it. I swear, man, every time I stream, there's so many different things working against me to try to distract me from just speaking. All right, it should be corrected now. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's like there's the objective side of it where it's like, do I believe Naughty Dog will create a great video game? Yes. Yes, I do. But the other side of it is, I guess, my personal expectations, you know. And from that perspective, I am a bit weary that there could be aspects of this game that I'm not a fan of, that make me feel like if I view it from an objective standpoint, is it a great video game? Yeah. Are there things that maybe I won't like about it? Maybe. I hope not, though. I want Intergalactic to be a game that people are like, oh my God, this is what Naughty Dog's been working on this whole time. It was worth the wait. That's what I would want Intergalactic to be. But I'm just a little bit nervous for it, you know? I think there's immense pressure on Naughty Dog. I think that they have to really, they really have to, they have to deliver something truly, I think, special with Intergalactic in order for them to to be in the same place they were when they dropped games like The Last of Us and Uncharted, you know? So it's tough. It's tough. I feel like that's a really high bar. That's crazy company to keep. So big shoes to fill, I guess you could say. That would be awesome if it has a Souls aspect. Like it's Naughty. There's like aspects of it where it's Naughty Dog's take on a Souls. Like I'd be all over that. I would be all over that. Maybe something like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, something along those lines. We have Soyu, a.k.a. Mr. Hamster, with a super chat. He says, I tried to buy Game Pass to play Beast of Reincarnation, but Microsoft's stupid servers keep having errors. So I gave up, picked up Dark Souls 1 instead. Damn. I mean, Mr. Hamster, I'm going to say, great choice. Great choice. That damn Game Pass. That's crazy that it wasn't working for you, though. That sucks, man. Yeah, we'll we'll talk a little bit about Beast of Reincarnation. It could be. Neil talked about Elden Ring. He did. He seemed inspired by Elden Ring. So we'll see. We will see. They were inspired by Bloodborne as well. They wanted The Last of Us Part 2 to be melee only, and I'm like, that's super interesting. Maybe a kind of mix between Star Wars and Elden Ring. Saw the Comic-Con panel of Santa Monica, though. These people are just different from most of us, not saying better or worse. They're just different beings. Titus, what did you see with that Comic-Con panel that you're like, they're other? I don't know what's going on. Naughty Dog set the bar, so achieving again should be easiest to them. I don't know. It's tough, man. Like sometimes they, you know, we see artists they set the bar too high for themselves. You know, Kiwi Talks keeps saying the Intergalactic budget is close to $500 million. If true, that game is cooked either way, dude. I hope it's not that high. That's going to be bad for Intergalactic. I believe the budget's high. 500 million? $500 million, bro? No. Come on. Yeah, 500 million is crazy, man. You wish Naughty Dog would do another Jack and Daxter, or at least give the IP to someone who would do something with it. That might happen, but a lot of people want another Jack and Daxter. I personally don't think Naughty Dog will ever go back to Jack and Daxter, unless maybe to do like a remake or something. I mean, I don't know, man. You just have to question some stuff sometimes. Like, you know, like if you remastered The Last of Us 1, you remade The Last of Us 1. Okay, why don't you like do like a Jack and Daxter remake? Maybe Sony won greenlight, something like that. I don't know. I mean, my personal prediction for Intergalactic, sales-wise, I don't think it'll do bad, but I do think it's not gonna sell as many copies as games like Uncharted 4 or The Last of Us 1 or 2. I don't think it's gonna. I mean, although my opinion on that might change after we see the gameplay. Dave Bautista's Kratos. Yeah, dude, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be really interesting. I mean, who knows? Maybe they show the gameplay for Intergalactic and it's like, bro, it's going to be a game of the generation. I'd be on board for it, man. You know, I just think it's, you know, I almost feel like Intergalactic shouldn't have been revealed, to be honest. I mean, I understand why it was, but I feel like Intergalactic, we should have got something similar to, honestly, the reveal of Intergalactic should have been the same as God of War Laufey. It should have just been like, here's 20 minutes of gameplay. You know, that would have been awesome. And we have DGAD coming in, renewing his membership today. DGAD, thank you so much for that, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You know I always appreciate that support. So DGAD kicks us off. I'll add that to the goal here. Yeah, guys, if you want to support the channel, you know what to do. Become a member, gift memberships, super chats, direct donations. These are all ways in which you can support what I do here directly. I can only do what I do here because you guys make it possible. So thank you for that, and shout out to everybody who does. You're not a fan of Dave as Kratos? We'll see. We'll see what he looks like. And Makwi Ninja with a $2 chat says, shouldn't we be seeing more come September? Are you talking about seeing more of Intergalactic? If you're talking about seeing more of Intergalactic, I mean, I don't think you're going to see more of Intergalactic until next year. I think this year's wrapped. If there's going to be a first-party game center stage at an upcoming State of Play, I think it's either going to be Until Dawn 2 or God of War Laufey. Personally. Hello, MBG. How's your neck and arm? It's definitely sore today. I did a little bit of a workout yesterday, and I got to be careful. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a long stream today. These long streams have been killing my neck. I got to, like, balance it, you know? But I'm okay right now. Thank you for asking. Who's ready for a peanut head? Really, Nicodemus? Peanut head? Oh, well. You know, I don't... Listen, if you go watch the Intergalactic trailer, I don't know if people know this or not, but there's a section of the trailer where it pans over the wall with all the pictures on it. There's a picture of the 5 aces or whatever, and she was part of that group, and she's in that picture. She has hair. Just saying. For anybody who's curious, go rewatch that trailer. You'll see it. You'll be like, oh. So, you know. Why she doesn't have hair now, I don't know. What do I think of Web 5's comment? He says, personally, I think Naughty Dog games are overrated, lacking deep gameplay mechanics, but their fans glaze them. So Intergalactic should break even. I mean, look, are some aspects of Naughty Dog's gameplay more streamlined and simplified? Yeah. But I don't view it that way. I don't view it as lacking depth because of that. I think what makes up for it, and this is what Naughty Dog specializes in my opinion. I think about games like The Last of Us 1 and 2. The Last of Us 1 and 2 don't have the deepest gameplay mechanics, but what makes up for that is the intensity of the gameplay. I can't deny that there are so few games I've ever played where, like when I was playing The Last of Us 1 for the first time, the absolute brutality and intensity and how visceral it felt, when playing as Joel to beat somebody with a brick, or to have somebody come up behind me and, try to like tackle me or grab me or something. It's like, there's a level of intensity to it that Naughty Dog nailed, especially if you play it on harder difficulties. And that's why I'm interested in Intergalactic, because it's like, well, she's going to be using a laser sword, and I'm assuming most of the combat's going to be melee. So it's like, I'm curious to see how the feel of it ends up being, because even with Uncharted, man, like, I'm playing Uncharted 4 and you're running around as Drake, everything's crazy, and there's all this crap happening around you. So I don't know. I do think that it's understandable that some people, they might not feel the same way about the gameplay that Naughty Dog delivers, and they might feel like it's overrated. But to be honest, I think every amazing game has its critics that view it as overrated, no matter which game you're talking about. Red Dead 2, God of War 2018, Nintendo games. There's always going to be people that look at it like that's overrated. I'm not feeling it the same way other people are, and that's fine. That's totally fine. PS Contraband is saying, but you were happy with the Wolverine CGI reveal just because it didn't catch your eye. Others online are excited for Intergalactic. I know. And I can't deny with the Wolverine CGI, you're right. I was excited for that, but it's because I guess I immediately saw a vision in my head. And honestly, I'm kind of shocked at how, well, not shocked. I mean, it's Wolverine, right? But the vision that I had in my head, what we've seen of Wolverine, it's like, it's almost perfectly aligned. And I'm like, God damn. I guess what makes it hard for Intergalactic is I don't have much of a vision in my mind. Like I just try to imagine certain things. I'm like, maybe that's what it could look like, but I don't know. And so the only vision that keeps coming in my mind is that trailer. And, that's fine, but it doesn't, it's hard for me to get excited based off of the visions of Intergalactic that I try to imagine in my mind gameplay wise, because again, it could be polar opposite. It's not to say that with Wolverine there couldn't have been a different outcome, but I just feel like with Wolverine, it's a known IP. I played previous Wolverine games. There's kind of something established there. You know what I mean? Like there's an expectation that's automatically set. So it's, but that can work for Intergalactic because Intergalactic is a new IP, so they can do whatever they want. But yeah, I know people are excited for Intergalactic, and that's fine. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't be, but I do think Intergalactic is a game we're not going to see again until next year. I think it will come out late next year. It might be the last physical PlayStation first-party game ever. You think Wolverine will be amazing? Most hype game of the year by far. Wolverine does look amazing to me. It looks incredible. I can't wait. I can't deny. Like, for as much bullshit as there is surrounding Sony right now, like, Insomniac cooked. They did. You could easily call Bloodborne overrated. You only have 2 attacks in the whole game. Heavy and light attack. Well, that's what I mean. Like, you know, different strokes for different folks. I just feel like sometimes it's important to try to be objective with some things, you know, in games. Like I feel like something you can't say about. I'll give you an example. I think Naughty Dog's, I'm not saying this is what I think, but just what somebody might say. I think Naughty Dog's gameplay is too simple, lacks depth, and is overrated. Okay. But you know what you can't say? You can't say it's not smooth gameplay. Can't say the animations aren't incredible. You know? You can't say that. And that's what I mean. Like, I just think that, I'm not saying that that is the be-all, end-all, but it's just, I think sometimes people, they tend to overlook. It's like, if you're really observing a game, I think it's worth trying to find the good and the bad and everything in between. You don't have to, though, you know? You don't have to look at it that closely. You don't have to look at it under a microscope if you don't want to. Ray's like, yo, who said what about Bloodborne? MBG, glad you looked into Steam family sharing. My kids also like Steam. Kids these days don't have the console allegiance we had as kids. That's true. No, you're right about that. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like for us, for a lot of us, there's heavy nostalgia, you know? I think to an extent, I mean, I'll be curious with my kids if it exists at all when they get older. Because, like, I mean, they like Astrobot and stuff like that. But yeah, I do think you're right about that. I think that, you know, the behavior I notice, at least in my kids, is they're playing all over the place. You know, they're playing on whatever they want. I mean, maybe there's an argument that hardware is more ubiquitous now, right? Because, like, when I was growing up, you know, I didn't have a lot of options, so I had to be really careful about what I asked for. I mean, like, the peak at one point was like and it's a good peak. Like, I had a Nintendo 64 and a PS1. And that's good. Like, at that time, that's a lot. But it's like, looking at it now, like, compared to now, it's like, okay, you know, you can have a PlayStation, you can have a Switch, you can have a PC, you can have a tablet, you can have a smartphone, you know? You can have all these different things. And there's all these secondary or tertiary devices that are made by different companies, you know? So the options, I guess what I'm saying is, like, the options did exist to be able to, like, play in different places as a kid, but it felt like they were much more spread out. And I guess that's just the nature of, like, you know, I couldn't, like, it's like, I think what's different for my kids, and this is probably true for you guys too, is, like, their parents are gamers, you know? I think that makes a huge difference. Because, like, my parents, they didn't even know what video games really were, you know? So it was just like one of these things where, like, and the only other person in my family that I was, like, close to that played video games was my cousin. And so a lot of what I learned about games was from him. But it's just interesting to me to think that, like, gaming is probably so already so ingrained just across the board into my kids, because I'm addicted to gaming. You know, I'm a huge gamer, right? So is Mrs. MBG. Makes me wonder how much different things would have been if, like, my parents were into gaming. Anyway, I don't know. Now I'm just reminiscing. But yeah, I've been trying to. I'm still. I have to admit something about my experience with PC so far. Okay. Now some PC players are probably not going to be surprised that I'm saying this. And well, actually, probably nobody will be surprised I'm saying this, but it's just an honest observation I've noticed. I cannot deny that I am a console player through and through, in the sense that I don't know that I am the person that likes having all of the customization and options. Like, I noticed on what I find myself, I guess not surprised by, but overwhelmed by, is like even when I'm just navigating Steam, and it's cool because it's like, wow, there is a lot here. So like, if you want to get into it, you can, like, I was looking like people's profiles and stuff, and I was looking at my profile and all the things you can do. I'm like, that's sick. Like, Steam is set up in a way where it's like, if you want to go deep with this, you can go deep. It's not like that on PlayStation. The deepest you can really go on PlayStation is you can put like a profile banner, profile picture, and you got your trophies, you know? But just even like the navigation of the console UI versus as I'm learning to navigate Steam, the thing that I've noticed, and I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm just being honest. I have noticed that, like, okay, this is the separation. The separation is when I sit down at my PC, there are just more steps I have to go through. Maybe it's just now because it's early on, but for now, there are more steps I have to go through. Where it's like I had the thought, I'm like, whereas with PlayStation, I just press 2 buttons. That's it. I press 2 buttons and I'm there. On PC, it's definitely more than that. Now, again, maybe it's because it's the early days and I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and it will be set up eventually for me where it's like I can press a couple buttons and it's the same thing. I will say I got a little bit frustrated yesterday, okay? I'm just being real right now. I got frustrated yesterday. I ran my HDMI cord to from my PC is set up here next to me. I ran the HDMI cord. I have a really long one all the way, which was a pain in the ass to do. I ran it all the way to my TV. And basically, I'll just simplify what I'm saying here. I wanted to try to emulate the experience I have with PlayStation with PC, where I just want to sit on the sofa in front of the TV and play. And it was a major fail. It just did not, like, every time I thought I had it set up, there was like something not working. And I started to get really pissed off. I'm going to be honest. Now, granted, it was late in the evening and it was a long day. I was up since 6 a.m. But I was like, dude, this is bullshit. And so I was like, if I'm going to play I'm just going to sit at my desk and play it. Like, I'm not. And I guess it's one of these things where going to PC has, I don't know, I'm not saying it's backfiring. It's not backfiring, but it has made me more appreciative. Like, okay, I didn't quite realize just how simplistic the console was. You know? Like, you take it for granted. If you're used to playing on console, you take for granted. Like, you pick up the controller, you press the button to turn it on, and then you click the game and you play it. And that's that, you know? And that's nice. You know, that's what consoles have always thrived on, which is why I think Microsoft in particular needs to be very careful. Oh, yeah, I was trying to connect my DualSense through Bluetooth, but I think there's something wrong with the Bluetooth on my PC. It's not Steam's fault. My PC's got a couple things wrong with it. Like, I noticed Bluetooth doesn't really work on it, and anytime I've tried to set up a second monitor, it like doesn't work. And I've tried to troubleshoot it every way I can. But I'm sure eventually I'll figure something out. Well, no, here's the thing though. As I navigate Steam and as I navigate PC games, like there's something I can identify slowly but surely I'm identifying it. That, like, it basically, if I imagine myself being an expert, like if I really ended up in the long run taking to PC gaming, and actually appreciating all of the things it's offering me. And it's like, actually, I do like having this, or like I'm getting used to having all these options, to where not having them anymore would feel strange. To see it from that opposite direction, I can very much see how, like, you know, if I was tinkering with Resident Evil 4, looking at all the settings, and I'm like, this is crazy. You know, like that, like I could just mess with anything I want here. Like for me, it's a bit much, you know? I ended up just putting it back to the default settings because I'm like, this is too much. But if I ever get to that point where if I change as a person, where it's like, actually, I do like the idea of being able to completely customize each graphical setting to, tune it just as I want it. But I cannot deny that, I am the type of person where I am just used to boot up a console game. It asks me, do you want fidelity, mode, or performance? And I always hit performance, and that's that. You know what I mean? It's like, that's that. Maybe occasionally things get crazy, and you're like, do you want ray tracing on or off? I have a couple of direct donations, by the way. We have Druid Scrub with a $2 dono. Says, Naughty Dog, like most Sony studios, always make simple mechanics in games. They are usually very easy. Sony obviously makes them do that, casual. Perhaps that's true, Druid, but I want to say this. Try playing The Last of Us or The Last of Us Part 2 on the hardest difficulty. Nightmare. Boomer behavior, MBG. I know. I know. Don't be mad at me. Listen, I'm not giving up on PC. I'm not. It's here. It's here to stay. And PC will be a way in which I play some of the games I want to play. PC will be my access point to them. So I'm going to learn it regardless, I did use the DualSense while playing on PC, Shadowlink. And it's been pretty good. Like when I connected it to so yesterday I connected my DualSense with a USB cord. It automatically registered it, and I booted up Resident Evil 4, and it was on my monitor, everything set up here. It was just good to go. The only thing I did notice was that it had the output set to 4K, like native 4K automatically on Resident Evil 4, and it seemed like my frame rate was at 30. Or I think it had like an unlocked frame rate, but I could tell, I'm like, well, this is not hitting a smooth 60. So I decided I wasn't going to mess with it. I could probably have dropped it to 1440p and get 60 easily. But I was surprised that when I was using the DualSense, it was just automatically perfectly configured. The exact same way it is if I play Resident Evil 4 Remake on my Pro. So I'm like, sweet. It seems like modern games have it down, because I did go in this. You can go into the Steam settings. Well, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this, but you can go into the Steam settings and it'll ask you, like, there's this one setting. It's in advanced controller settings where it's like you can set up a configuration automatically and you can choose PlayStation or like a DualSense or something. And that's what I did. And it like worked. I'm like, oh, that's pretty sick. That's pretty cool. Yeah. It has the haptic feedback and all that stuff. When it's wired. I wasn't able to get it working wirelessly, so I can't speak to that. We have Lucky Luke who dropped. Oh, wow. Hold on. Lucky Luke dropped $60, basically. 23 $20 direct donations. He says, Dear MBG, thank you for being a shining light to break through all the gaslighting. You can't contradict yourself with the truth. Love, beauty, and peace. Trust your integration. You recognize lies. There is only one truth. Doing your job will get more and more difficult, but with authenticity, you will always prevail. Search for inner harmony. Yo, Lucky Luke, who is this? This has got to be somebody I know. Or somebody that's a regular on the channel using a different name. Well, Lucky Luke, whoever you are, you dropped what looks like a $60 donation, direct donation to say that. And thank you so much, man. That means a lot. It does. I really appreciate that because, I mean, I get too entrenched in this stuff, you know, it is just the internet. But, you know, the internet is made up of people and bots, but can't really tell. Sometimes you can tell who the bots are, but I assume most of the people I engage with are actual real people, right? Dude, I gotta tell you this, Lucky Luke. I was is it Rich Rod? If it was Rich Rod, he would have said something about Jesus and Bible study. So I'm not so sure. I was scrolling through YouTube yesterday, and there was this video that popped up. It was like a 2.5 minute video, and it was about like your energy and like being in harmony with your energy and like being true to yourself and so. And I looked closer at it. I'm like, is that? Because I was like looking at the person in the thumbnail. I'm like, is that Rob Deerdeck? And I'm like, no. But then I looked at the channel name and it was Rob Deerdeck. And I was like, what? So I clicked on the channel, and like Rob Deerdeck's YouTube channel is all about like spiritual energy and all that stuff. And I'm like, this is crazy. I don't know. I'm assuming some of you guys here know who Rob Deerdeck is, but I was just really shocked by that. But I watched the video. It was really good, and it was very similar to kind of what you're saying here, Lucky, where it's like you got to be in alignment with your true energy and your true intentions. And Mrs. MBG's getting into that stuff too. She's been getting into that recently, really trying to like, you know, tap into certain energies and be more in touch with your spiritual side. I struggle with it a lot of times. I do. I think a lot of people do. It's normal. But I really appreciate those kind words, man. You know, you dropped those donations and you could have said anything. You could have trolled me. But instead, you chose to say extremely kind things. And I really appreciate that. I appreciate that. It makes it worth pushing through the tough times, you know? I always try to remind myself that we got some really good people here, and they care, and they come off, you know, truly. I mean, I know it sounds a little cheesy to say, but some of you guys come off as like friends, you know, like if we were just hanging out or something. So thank you. The truth will prevail. You know what the truth is? Sony sucks. No, I mean, right now, for a lot of people, that is the truth. That is the truth. Xbox sucks. PlayStation sucks. Nintendo sucks. Valve is the only true. Valve is the only truth. You know what's so interesting though? Suffer the Sony syndrome, Concord syndrome. You know what's so funny though? Like the time that I've been spending on Steam, like I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it's just because I'm paying too much attention to this stuff. But like, oh, you're right. I missed the opportunity to say family. We're family. I can feel, speaking of energy, there is an energy that I can pick up on as I'm navigating through Steam. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like I can feel the energy of what went behind the construction of Steam and how different it is to the energy behind the construction of PlayStation and how different it is from the energy behind the construction of Xbox. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but you just kind of like when you're, and I think this is normal, like when you get a new console or you enter a new ecosystem, like there's just a vibe. There's a vibe to it. And maybe you don't pick up on it right away, but as you start messing around with it, you start to feel it more strongly. And the vibe with Valve and Steam and just the PC experience that I've had so far is very much like it feels like it's completely disconnected from like, so if there's Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft, right? And Valve, like if we look at these four companies, Valve feels like, I've always known this because I've talked about it, but Valve feels like, I could say it feels now that I'm trying it for myself, completely disconnected from those three companies. Like, you can feel that disconnection. Where like it was so like I felt it so strongly that I literally tweeted it out where I'm like, why isn't Sony copying anything Valve's doing? I don't understand. And the difference is privately owned company versus, publicly traded company, beholden to shareholders, but Megacorp versus Standard Corp versus privately owned. Yep. Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. There you go. But it's fascinating how you can actually kind of feel that through just the navigation of all the menus and all the options and all the things you can do different. Like, it's just true, man. Like, when you're on Steam, and I know it sounds like I'm glazing it. I'm not trying to glaze Steam. It's true. Like, you have like a million options, bro. There's options on options. I went to go check like a Steam filter, and I'm like, dude, there's like regular filters, advanced filters, advanced filters. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. But, one might argue maybe too much, maybe too much. And we have another direct dono from Lucky Luke, another $20 direct donation, bro. Thank you, man. He's dropping $20 direct donations like it's nothing. He says, I am also good people. Nobody you know, never donated. You are, however, a friend. I wish you clarity. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for that, man. I guess this is the first time donor. Probably, I'm assuming, like, if not long-time listener, maybe been listening for a little while. Well, I appreciate that, man. You definitely didn't have to do that, but those donations definitely help, man. And I'm picking up an energy, Stop it, Nicodemus. Our boy has become a man. Stop it. Picking up a very positive energy, and I do thoroughly appreciate that. Because I don't know, I wasn't feeling like the most positive vibes today, But I'm glad. I'm glad you enjoy the content, dude. I'm glad you've been enjoying what I do here, or it's been something that has touched you in some way. Stop it. Stop it, Nick. Irvin, you're saying he's sus? You think Lucky Luke? You think Lucky Luke is being sus? I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I'm having good faith here. It happens sometimes, man. You'd be surprised. Like, dude, sometimes there are people, they just come like out of nowhere and they just like make themselves known, and they've been here for years. And it's like their first time like ever donating to the channel or even just saying anything on the channel. It does happen. It's rare, but it happens. So that's my assumption with Lucky Luke here. But thank you, man. Those are some very kind words. Good people. No, Irvin, trust me, I get it. You're just looking out. There have been people who have, they've come in and are like, like people do use the direct donation as a way to low key troll me sometimes, which is fine. Like, I don't mind that either, as long as it's not over the top or anything. But thank you for that, Lucky Luke. That's very, very kind of you. Very generous. Really appreciate that, buddy. MacTube, you're saying, MBG, what is your Steam name so we can friend request you? And you're also saying, can we finally acknowledge the God of War TV show is cursed? People are literally breaking down and getting recast before filming even started. They need to scrap the show. It's a train wreck. It does sound like it's running into some serious problems. Will it truly be like a bad show, and will it turn out badly? I don't know, man. I feel like it's too soon to tell. I think that the truth is, when it comes to a live action God of War show, I think it had like the odds are stacked against it. I think it has a very high chance of being a I mean, again, I don't know if train wreck is the right word, but being something that's like extremely underwhelming to a degree where it's like, this is, I don't know about this one. But I mean, if you looked at that first picture they put out, I mean, it's hard to deny that it might be cursed, you know? Batista's a good actor, though. He's a good actor. So maybe it'll, I don't know, maybe it'll turn things around. By the way, I posted my friend code for anybody interested for Steam. My prediction is that GTA Online will be sold separately for a price. Players will choose what role they want to play, hence buying $5 million and progress their career. Thoughts? I mean, no, I do think GTA Online 2 is going to be sold separately. Yeah. They're already charging $80 for GTA 6. They have yet to say anything about GTA Online. GTA Online is currently sold separately. You can buy it separately from GTA 5. So I do think that's what's going to happen. Yeah. Which kind of sucks, but I don't know. That first picture was horrific. It was. We have another direct donation from Lucky Luke dropping another $20 direct donation. What is that like? I think it's $100 in direct donations, bro. And he says, yes, long tome lurker. You must say long time lurker. We have to look out for the good ones. I will, however, disappear into the void again. Yours, Lucky Luke. Not on socials. Interesting. He's like, don't find me, bro. You don't know who I am. I was never here. Well, I appreciate that, Lucky Luke. Thank you. Bro just dropped like basically $100 in direct donations. Incredible. Just to say kind words to me. Thank you, man. Thank you. When we talk about like good ones, you know, like the thing that's been noticeable to me in the past couple weeks, understandably so, the thing that's been noticeable to me, and I guess it's always kind of been like this, but it's just something that's been a little bit more pronounced. I'm not saying what are bad ones, right? I don't even know that good or bad is the right word, but it's just there are people that I've noticed. It's like, MBG, we're here for you, man. Like, we're here to hear your thoughts, and I don't know. It was a little bit unsettling, just slightly, to, you know, come across some people where it almost came off as like, bro, I only listened to what you said because you talked about this one thing and you said the things that I wanted to hear. But I guess that's normal, you know. I don't think anybody's wrong for that. I don't think they're wrong. I think that's a very common thing, and it's, you know, it's kind of expected on social media and YouTube and stuff. But I guess I'm just saying, to me, like, I have an ultra appreciation for people who are like, I don't want to say ride or die because that's too extreme, but like, nah, man, we're along for the ride, you know. Like, we're not necessarily we're not gonna just leave or something because you want to try something else out or something like that, you know. But yeah, no, I have some long time viewers. I'll tell you what, man, something that's definitely interesting to me is when I look at the overall views on my channel, like holistically, there's a major, and I guess this is probably true for every content creator, like there's a major disconnect between the amount of comments / replies I'm getting in a comment section or my chat versus the amount of views I'm getting. And it does make you sometimes forget that there are potentially thousands of people, hundreds, but maybe thousands of people that are they're in the shadows, man. They're lurking, they're listening, they're supporting in that way, and you just never know. It's always interesting to me. But yeah, Lucky Luke, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate all the support you guys have been showing the channel. Perfect Image, you're asking me to read your last. Let me see. When you do game capture on a second monitor, you have to change the resolution to your stream. Sometimes that's an easy fix. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like when I've tried setting up a second monitor onto my PC, my PC just doesn't register it. Like, you know how when you go into now I'm using a Windows PC. When you go into Windows settings after you connect the second monitor, you hit detect. It has to detect a second screen. I've done everything to get that to work. Drivers, everything else, and it won't detect it. It just will not detect a second monitor. I've tried connecting it through DisplayPort. I've tried connecting it HDMI. The only thing I haven't tried is a wireless connection, but I don't think I have a screen that could connect wirelessly. So I've just kind of left it. I let it be. I'm like, I don't know what to do. So do we have a topic today? Apparently we do. My title tells you we have topics. Stop it, Titus. Titus is like, this guy. This guy. He's like, I'll look into it. I'll look into it. Then again, I was telling you guys I was having problems with my capture card, and then, you know, I did like a member stream, and we figured it out, or Mrs. MBG figured it out within like 10 minutes, and I'm like, that's a real thing that happened, by the way. All right. Gav, you're saying you can't blame people who watch for PlayStation-centric news not wanting to watch a PC-centric channel. You did say you wanted to move in that direction, and that's true. And I don't blame them. No, like, I just think that there are some people that maybe, and I guess it's natural they miss some of the conversations because we have a lot of conversations. I think some people were getting the wrong idea, where they're like, I'll put it to you this way. I've encountered some people where it's like, there's an energy of like, it's got to be PlayStation and it's got to be mostly positive. Like, and anytime it's not, like, we got to move on quickly from that. And I'm like, I don't, like, if that's what came naturally to me, and what's funny is, like, if you go back to 2020 and 2021 with the build up to the launch of the PS5, that's exactly what I was. There was hardly any negativity for PlayStation on my channel because there really wasn't any. There was occasionally a little small thing here and there, but that was it. It was all, it was smooth sailing, and it was great, and it was fun. And I everything I was covering, I was like genuinely that authentically excited for, And then as we went throughout this generation, it's like, okay, there's like more roadblocks popping up, and there's more weird decisions being made. And I got to be totally honest with you guys. Like, dude, I follow PlayStation, obviously. Like, I follow what's going on. There's two sides to PlayStation right now. Okay. There is the off the internet side, the casual side, which makes up probably the largest chunk of PlayStation, where people are buying PlayStations, they're playing on their PlayStations. People are playing on their PlayStations every day, and they're spending money on PlayStation, and none of what's happening right now exists in their world at all. They have no idea. That's probably I want to say the majority. It might be the majority, but it's a large group of people, very large group of people on PlayStation. Then there's the rest. There are people who are paying attention. There are people who, they don't just play on PlayStation, but they're involved in the conversations and the discussions, where they're involved in the news cycles. They're paying attention to the news cycles. They're paying attention to the announcements. They're paying attention to everything going on around it. And what I will say to you is this: when we cut that in half and we separate that, you have the side that doesn't know, the side that does know and talks about it. The side that does know and does talk about it, the side where PlayStation is a conversation, it is a talking point, it is something you cover, it is something you follow. I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen anything like this. I like, can PlayStation just do well and continue to thrive while completely ignoring that there is a portion of this, of the entirety that makes up PlayStation there? And I'm not saying it's a large portion, but it's a portion nonetheless, that it's like you have torched your reputation in this sector. On the internet, Sony's reputation is done, dude. Like, this is a permanent stain that's going to follow them forever. And I can tell you, man, like, I didn't see that coming. There's a lot of things I didn't see coming. There's a lot of things that caught me by surprise. And I'm like, after like a week or two, it's like, okay, like, I can rationalize it. And it's like, this is what it is. It's, you know, a couple months removed from Concord. It's over. You move on, stuff like that. Sure. This is different. This is genuinely different. And I've noticed that. And I'm certain I'm not the only one that's noticed this, where it's like, it's not going away. And I get the sense that here's how I think here's my prediction. This is my prediction. I think it will disappear at certain points, but it will be temporary. So let me give you an example. If we get GTA gameplay this week or this month, and it's shown off on PlayStation 5 Pro or something, and, you know, I'm sure Sony will be involved in the marketing to some extent. I think it'll go away temporarily, mostly. You'll still see a little bit here and there. You'll still hear about it a little bit here and there, but it'll mostly be overtaken by the hype and excitement that people have for GTA 6 gameplay. But then it will come back. Once people are no longer thinking about the GTA 6 gameplay, basically what I'm saying is every in-between place, this is what's going to exist there perpetually. And it's like I said, there is another moment where, like, it's crazy to think that let's just say after August, everybody kind of stops talking about it. Or like 99% of people stop talking about it and it's not really a thing anymore. It's crazy to think that, okay, but what about when the PlayStation 6 is revealed? Then it's coming back. It's roaring back. This is what I mean when I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I'm not saying I could have thought of a better way to do it if I was going to do it this way, but I am shocked Sony's not rethinking it, man. It's like, I know you're going to have some record-breaking quarters, and I know that you are not going to try to argue with the numbers that you're seeing on your spreadsheets, but it's like, this isn't going away. From what I can tell, this is not going away. You know, it's going to be a fight for Sony, and I just don't understand why it has to be that way. I find myself frustrated with it because it's like, you could just make people happy. You could even pretend that you care about making people happy. You don't even have to care and really do everything. You could just pretend. And they're like, no. Irfan, you're saying it's going away. Let me see. What is this? PlayStation petition loses steam as Sony doubles down on disc decision. Well, you know what? You know what could, believe it or not, I think something that could make it go away a lot quicker, or at the very least, it's like, I don't know that it will silence people, you know, like people are going to say what they want to say, but it's like, it could make it start to dissipate a lot quicker, is if Microsoft comes out and basically says, we're doing that too. It won't make the situation better, but I think it will, like, it'll create a kind of, it'll change the energy a little bit, you know? Where, like, I think more people will be like, oh, all right, well, I guess that's it then, you know? But I still think there's problems for next gen. But hold on one sec. Hold up. Where? It says here, at the start of July, a critical petition surfaced online raised by those enraged at Sony Interactive Entertainment's decision to stop producing discs for new PlayStation games from January 2028. It quickly gathered traction, securing 250,000 signatures in around a week. But as time has gone on, the energy around the petition has waned, even as Sony addresses the situation. During recent financial updates, Sony stated it would be cautiously moving forward with the decision to scrap discs. Despite that, the number of signatures against the petition has slowed. We also heard from other key industry players. Some of them are supportive of the decision. Yeah, it seems like it basically stagnated. I don't think the petition was going to really do anything, to be honest. I mean, when do petitions ever do anything? Petitions are a good gesture, and I think that they do gain some attention, but watch the Spawnway video about sales numbers between digital and physical and how it is not accurate at all. It's closer to a 3-to-1 ratio. Oh, I believe it. Listen, I just got depressed again. Like, not that I wanted to, but like I went on YouTube this morning and I got this video that was recommended to me by, I guess, a music enthusiast channel. And they were talking about a big rise in CD sales. There's like a massive surge in CD sales. You know, it's like having its vinyl moment or something. And I know it's not exactly the same. What makes it difficult for PlayStation and gaming is that like the games have to run on proprietary hardware. You know, it's not like there's different versions of PlayStations being made by all different companies that are at different quality levels, and you know, you can always just buy, you know what I'm saying? Like if you want to buy different types of CD players, you can. Different type of vinyl record players, you can. That doesn't exist in gaming, or at least in the console space. But it still made me depressed nonetheless, that it's like it just feels genuinely unfair that like there's a whole new generation of people. It took a long time. You know, CDs started to slowly die in the early 2000s. By the mid 2000s, they were basically dead. And between the mid 2000s and, you know, I'd say probably up until like 2020 or so, like it was completely dead. Like nobody was buying CDs. It like wasn't a thing. And then now it's getting just a major resurgence because people are just suddenly becoming interested in like, actually this, maybe these are good. Maybe these are worth having. You know, maybe we should buy CDs, just like what happened with vinyl. And it is just depressing, man. I know a lot of people don't care, but it just feels unfair. You know, that's the word. It just feels unfair that like, how come when it like, it's like, if you're a gamer, you're not allowed to have that. It just doesn't feel right. It's like, we can have it for everything else but gaming. Why? I don't know. I mean, I think we do know why, but you think the rise in console prices is a far bigger issue than the no disc situation, in my opinion? You're probably right. I think the no disc situation just makes it worse, but yeah, I don't know. I got a little bit depressed watching that video because I'm like, that's crazy. Like CD sales went up 16%, I think, this year, which is crazy. Like that may not sound like a lot, but that's crazy. Like that's actually crazy. That would be like, imagine if you found out physical sales were up 16% in the year 2026 compared to 2025. It would be crazy. Like that would be like, wow, you should definitely be crazy not to keep making physical discs. So it's just, but I guess what I'm just trying to say is like, it took a long time for that to happen. There was a period where physical media that came in the form of CDs. Like, it was dead. It existed. It was still there as an option, but it was dead for years and years and years. And then here it is. The comeback is happening. And I just hate that, like, that's being snuffed out. The whole idea with physical games is that, yes, it was going to die, but it was going to reach a low point, and it would stay at that low point for a long time until eventually it came back. These things are cyclical in a way. It's the pendulum swinging back and forth. It always does. And we're just not going to be allowed to have that. And, from my perspective, I look at that and I'm like, well, that's just messed up. A used VCR on eBay is $200 or more now. Damn. VHSs are coming back. And that's fine, Lady Gamer. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like I said, man. I'm not, I'm not gonna not play games over physical media not existing. I'll be more thoughtful about where I'm gonna play them and where my money's going when it comes down to it. But can't deny that there's just too many great games. I love gaming too much. Just like if physical music did go away completely, I wouldn't stop listening to music, Anyway. Hold on. So, I want to go over something with you guys here. Speaking of Sony, hold on 1 second, guys. Trying to. Okay. Yeah, speaking of Sony, I have to go over this with you. So, it's being reported by WCCF Tech during Sony's Q1 2026 earnings call. Lin Tao, the executive officer and chief financial officer, addressed the massive backlash against the corporation's strategic move away from PlayStation discs and into a digital-only future come January 2028. As previously reported, she acknowledged the strong sentiments expressed by fans, but she also confirmed Sony's plans to move forward and expressed the company's conviction that this would not hurt its business. Later in the call, a senior analyst at Goldman Sachs, I guess that's how you say that, followed up with a question. And this is an investor asking this question. And they asked about whether the decision to stop manufacturing discs could hurt PlayStation by making it too similar to the PC platform, which has long abandoned physical media. Lin Tao replied that discs were never really a key feature in making PlayStation consoles stand out from PCs, adding that the key differentiators remain curated content, a stable game environment, and greater affordability compared to high-end PCs. And so the quote reads, "We don't feel that the disc is the factor to differentiate from the PC. For PC, there's a certain way to play with the PC as a user. It's a long tail. Our strength is that the curated content, that's one of our strengths. The game environment being stable, that's another strength. Compared to the high-end gaming PC, our product is more affordable. We don't feel that the disc itself is a strong factor for differentiation. Going forward, we can coexist peacefully with PC games." And I wanted to have this discussion with you guys because I do think that this is a portion of Sony's investor Q&A that has gone a little bit under the radar because the main focus has been the fact that they said they're not reversing their decision with discs. But they believe that a real differentiation is going to continue to exist between console and PC moving forward. And Kendall Fire with a $5 super chat says, "Note that while it's true that vinyl record sales are going up, record player sales aren't. Many Gen Zs have a vinyl collection with no record player." Interesting. I mean, what does that say? Like, that to me, that says it's literally we want to collect the physical media for the sake of collecting the physical media. We don't actually want to use it. What are you, crazy? I'm listening to my shit on Spotify or whatever, you know? It almost comes off like it's the cool thing to do, you know? Yeah, I got my vinyl collection. Cool. How frequently you listen to it? Oh, I don't even have a vinyl player. I don't even have a record player. Oh, nice. I mean, I don't really see a problem with it. Like, it is a little bit funny. It's like, okay, I guess. It seems impractical. But to each their own. Thank you for that, Kendall Fire. The trendy generation. Do we have another fly? I don't think so. No, I heard a drill outside, and I think it's my neighbor. Shadowlink drops a $2 direct donation, super chat, and he says, what if their parents or GP have a record player? It could be that. Yeah, it could be like, I'm using an OG record player. You know? It's possible. You're right. It's possible. I mean, I guess that would be, I don't want to say like highly likely, but I'd say there's like a 50% chance that somebody in their family who's much older may have a record player that they can use. I think Shadowlink's getting a little bit defensive. He's like, that's me. Hey, I never bought a record player. I'm buying vinyls. But I got my record player for my dad or my granddad or something. There's no fly in here today. I don't know whatever happened to that fly, by the way. I'm just glad it's gone. Oh, my God. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a long stream today. Sorry. Is your neighbor using a physical drill or a digital one? All right, so let's talk about this. PlayStation, PC, an investor, at least one Sony investor, is concerned that by Sony getting rid of physical discs, it's going to make it more like PC. And I'll tell you this, as somebody who has been, playing on PlayStation console this entire generation, and I'm now dabbling in PC gaming a little bit, I can tell you that they're not going to be the same. They simply can't be in some instances. I think until Valve maybe starts, if they decide they want to take the Steam Machine much more seriously and they want the Steam Machine to be a much more ubiquitous, wider reaching device with shipping something like, SteamOS and big picture mode, and that's like kind of all, that's just like how it is, like basically a Steam console. Unless they really do that, or unless Sony does, unless Sony does what Microsoft might do, which is here's a PlayStation where you can actually download other operating systems and storefronts. I think what I'm trying to say is that like the console's going to remain a console experience because Sony says so. It comes in the form of it's a closed ecosystem, for better or for worse, that is only run one way. And it's just one straight line. You know what I mean? There is no deviation. There are no alternative paths. So it does create a streamlined simplicity, but there's also the major negative sides to this that we've been acknowledging. That it's almost like, would it be such a bad thing if PlayStation became more like PC? And it's like, it depends what you mean when you ask that question. Does PlayStation need to be open? Probably not. I'm going to say most people who are currently on PlayStation don't care about that. Because if they did care about that, they would already be on an open platform that has existed this whole time, that being PC. I think what people would be more likely to care about, though, is feature sets and potential competition. The fact that if it's not going to be open, it doesn't leave much room for competition. But that's where, like, the whole problem with Sony going digital only next gen And the whole problem with, I think, Sony's statement here is that the problem is you don't want to be more like PC. And because of that, it's going to burn people. At least that's our interpretation of it, because you're not saying otherwise. And I do think that that's kind of where Sony is in the process, maybe, of turning what is the console experience into a all around inferior, like truly turning it into an inferior experience where the only superior aspect, the only remaining superior aspect is simplicity and ease of use. What did I say? What did I say? Remember when I said that there's only one singular phrase you need to keep in your mind that explains everything going forward when it comes to these big businesses, corporations, and those who have a lot of IP and a lot of control and a lot of power? Convenience is king. And so it makes complete sense. Kendall Fire is saying, I personally have like 40 records, some that I've never opened. It's more about collecting the art. Game cases with a code would still allow that. I suppose. But I mean, at least like, I will say this though, Kendall Fire, at least like with your 40 records, if you ever decided you want to sell them, you can. And whoever's going to purchase them from you, or even if you want to give them to somebody, like, you can use them. You know what I mean? Like, you can put it on a record player and listen to it. I feel like the problem with the codes in the box is like, you can't. You know what I mean? Like, if you ever decide you want to do anything else with those boxes, they're completely useless. Like, it's a decoration, is what it is. And decorations are fine. Decorations are allowed to exist. They're allowed to be what they are, but that's what it is. And it's just crazy to think that we would have gone from you could buy a physical game box with the actual game in there that you can do what you want with, to now you're buying a decoration. You know? It's a sad progression. You're telling me to check out the Metro article? Hold on, let me check. PS6 will be cheaper than gaming PC, said Sony, but how much cheaper? I'm gonna talk about this. I want to read this in a second. I just wanted to finish making this point though, is that like, I guess what I was the greater point I was trying to make is that the singular thing that Sony is now going to weaponize, and it's gonna work for them more than likely to some degree. The singular thing that Sony's probably going to weaponize is convenience and simplicity. And if you heard what I was saying at the beginning of my stream, I value that. Like, what I'm trying to say is there is value in that for a lot of people. You know, the idea that I can engage with games at a really simple level with I don't want to say nonsense, but like no complications, really. No potential complications. Like, and that's what she said. She says that's a shot at PC, but I do think it's just the reality that, yes, the PC gaming environment can be much more unstable because of the fact that you have so many options. So it's really like how you harness it. Like, if you know what you're doing and you know how to leverage that, it'll actually make the gaming environment even better for you. But you have to know what you're doing. You have to know how to handle it. You know what I mean? You have to, and I'm kind of a clear example of somebody who's a novice and doesn't. And yeah, it's like, where's my fidelity and performance toggle? You know what I mean? So I do think that does go a long way for Sony and for the console experience. And I do think that it is a major strength. I just think it's sad that this is all it's being reduced to. Where it's like almost every other aspect of it is inferior to some level. But at least it's convenient and simple. And I'm like, well, yeah, but the trade-offs are too great, is what I'm saying. The trade, just like Apple devices, pretty much. Yeah, it's I just, again, man, like the big thing for me with Sony, and I cannot escape this. I guess it's rooted in my mind right now, and it's just overtaken my mind because it's like I've basically accepted that Sony's getting rid of the discs. I hate it, but they are. So the second thing is now I'm checking out Steam, the what's considered the de facto go-to digital storefront, right? And now the only thing I'm like kind of obsessed with this idea, like Sony, you got it. You have to. I don't know that I can sit here and realistically say you're going to match Steam, but you got to. You got to do something. You got to get much closer. You got to narrow that gap substantially, dude. Because like I get it, you want to have control. You want to have people in your ecosystem. You want to try to get more money out of the customers that are willing to pay that money. Am I muted? I don't think I'm muted. No. I get all those things. But like, I don't know, man. It's just too offensive at this point. Like you can't. You got to do more. You got to do more. I'm not trying to sound entitled, but it's. I don't think we're entitled. It's like they're telling, like Sony's basically telling us, and they're telling their shareholders, like we're going to ask for more money at some point. Okay, you're going to do more then, right? Like you're going to add way more fee, and maybe they will. We don't have the answer, but I just. It sounds to me like the two things Sony is based off of what Lynn Tao said. The two things she's highlighting, we're different from PC because we're going to be cheaper, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. And we're more streamlined, stable, and simplistic. Okay, but how much cheaper are you going to be? How much cheaper? We have an article here from Metro. It says Sony doesn't think physical games are enough of a factor to differentiate its PlayStation consoles from PCs and is focusing more on big exclusives and more on affordable pricing. Although Sony has yet to show the PS6 or even refer to it by name, it has touched upon its plans for the next gen of hardware, such as how it will go beyond the living room and what seems to be a hint at a rumored handheld device. During the company's most recent earnings report, Sony also discussed how it's ramping up investment into its next hardware, which lends credence to the claims that the PS6 will be ready for 2027 or possibly 2028. At the moment, though, there's barely any excitement for it, particularly because it's expected to be obscenely expensive. However, according to Sony, whatever price tag the PS6 gets, it'll still be cheaper than a gaming PC. The new comments come from an earnings call with investors when Sony's chief financial officer Lynn Tao was asked about the company's decision to abandon releasing physical games. It was pointed out that the removal of disc support arguably makes PlayStation consoles no different to a PC. So the question became, how does Sony plan to differentiate that? And, we already went over that quote. Lynn Tao is obviously referring to PlayStation exclusives, which Sony has decided to no longer port to PC, which is true. That's another differentiating factor. But it says nowadays, high-end gaming PCs will set you back at least, it says here, like £1,500 and £3,000 if you wanted an especially powerful one, so that's not a particularly precise comparison to be making. It goes without saying, though, that Sony won't want the PS6 to be more expensive than a gaming PC, thereby making it seem like a more desirable alternative. Does this mean the PS6 won't be as expensive as people fear? No, this thing is going to be costly, especially since hardware in general keeps becoming increasingly expensive, including the PS5, and the component shortages responsible for this show no signs of slowing down. Combined with the fact that Sony has already said it won't be selling new hardware at significant losses, rumors of the PS6 costing at least £1,000 sounds perfectly viable, and technically, that is cheaper than a high-end gaming PC, just not very much cheaper. So while the PS6 will technically be more affordable than a new PC, it'll still be a huge financial investment and a tough sell unless Sony has some truly massive exclusives alongside of it. Even then, I'm not sure. So, in other words, yeah, like this article is basically just pointing out something that I think, a lot of people are automatically asking, where it's like, oh, okay, so Sony, you're hoping that the fact the PS6 for the performance it will be offering will be cheaper to the PC equivalent. Okay, cool. But like, how? But is that going to matter? You know, like I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, I mean the prices we're looking at, I don't think so, man. I don't think it's going to matter much. Um, I think for enthusiasts it'll matter. Like you'll see people kind of reacting the way they did with the PS5 Pro when it first came out, where it's like for $700, this is the type of performance you're getting, and you can't get that with a $700 PC. You have to pay like hundreds of dollars more. And sure, like I'm sure that's, or you have to like buy used components to put together a PC or something. And yeah, I just don't. Again, it just comes back down to, and this is, I just can't help but feel like this, man, where it's like Sony, if you are in this dominant or, you know, elevated position because people love your console experience, because your console experience is streamlined, it's stable, it's convenient, and it's mostly affordable. Well, mostly. Why not have it all? And now make substantial changes to your digital ecosystem, you know? So that way, it's like you're doing it all. You're producing incredible hardware. You're, even if it's expensive, it's like still more affordable than the alternative. Um, you got the exclusive games. You got huge install base and massive fan base, ton of support. Like you have all the support of third-party devs, incredible third-party support. All you need now is like get your digital ecosystem up to snuff. And boom. Like I don't think Sony understands that, like, if you could make PlayStation, if like imagine if Sony made PlayStation objectively the best place. Right? Or maybe not objectively, but like imagine if Sony made it so like the only thing PC has that PlayStation doesn't is some other storefronts, which is, I'm not saying that that's a big deal for a lot of people, but they have other storefronts and you can tweak your graphical settings. Well, then again, I don't know that Sony, the more I think about it, the more I don't know that Sony could completely match PC. And to be clear, I'm not asking Sony to turn console into PC. We don't want them to do that, but I'm just saying it's like close the gap. I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but it's like close the gap. And then there's free online. That's not going to happen. So I don't know, man. Like, do you know what I'm starting to think? The more I engage with PC, what I'm starting to think is that Sony's play here, and this sounds super shitty, and I hate the idea of this being true. I think the play is Sony knows eventually this is going to go down. Like when I say down, they'll continue to make consoles. There will continue to be a console base. But I think it's like the days of hitting 100 million sold are gone. The days of hitting 80 million sold are gone. We would be lucky if we even hit 50 million sold at this point. It's only going down, right? I think they are preparing for this. And I think their solution to this problem, it is temporary in the sense that, like, okay, if we get less buyers, but we get more money from each buyer, it evens out. True, but where's the growth? And that's why I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I think Sony's end game here, because think about this, like, Sony's end game is PC. We know this because they already tried to embrace PC. But we have to think about why they pulled back, right? They pulled back on that because they weren't getting the sales that they had hoped. You know? What if the community has outgrown console gaming? It's hard to say. I don't know if outgrow is the right word. I think it's more likely that they're priced out, you know? I think if the prices start to increase more on the console side of things, it just naturally will make people think, well, if I'm spending this much on this, could I get something better elsewhere for an equivalent or a little bit more, you know? That's something that Sony needs to keep in mind. But what I'm trying to say here is that, like, Sony went to PC, and I don't know if you guys remember, but because I was looking into this recently. I mean, I was actually looking into it yesterday. Sony was going so hard in the paint with PC, okay, that they had native trophy integration for their first-party games if you signed in. And, you know, they were putting all their first-party games after like a year, maybe 2 years in some cases, onto PC. They have a whole studio who's dedicated to porting their games to PC. And there were multiple job listings a couple years ago that they were making a launcher for PC. Obviously, their plans changed dramatically. They backed out on everything. They said, we're not putting our games on PC. They're going to be exclusive. Clearly, well, I don't want to say clearly, but as of right now, there doesn't seem to be a launcher in sight. Maybe they're still working on something behind the scenes, but it's not going to be ready anytime soon. And because, you know, there's no trophy support because there are going to be no more PlayStation games on there. The only thing they did commit to is live service games, right? That's it. Here's my read on this, okay? My read on it is Sony's got one more hurrah. This is their last hurrah. All right. And let me explain what I mean by that. Before I do that, though, we have Lund. He says, there hasn't been growth since the PS2. After that, no other console has been able to match it. Not even from Sony, last I checked. Correct. It's not to say they haven't been wildly successful. Selling 100 million consoles, while it may not be 160 like the PS2, 100 million consoles is still crazy good. And Sony still wants that. And yeah, people bought it for the DVD player, the PS2, that is. But here's the thing. I think the PlayStation 6 is Sony's last hurrah. All right. Let me elaborate. From Sony's perspective, they're taking their games off of PC, not because they'll never bring them to PC again, but because we need to try, like, to really give everything we got for the PS6, because think about it. Think about it. If we put out an expensive console that's going to be the hardest sell for most people compared to any other console we put out, would it help us if we were still telling people our games are going to come to PC anyway? It seems like it would only hurt their console, their new console that's going to be very hard to sell. So you take your games off PC, it's because we're going to use it to try to sell the PS6. Okay, that makes sense. But what then? What if it doesn't work? Well, we got to try everything. We got to have the exclusives. We got to try to have as affordable of a price point as we possibly can. We have to try to market the shit out of it and convince people that the graphical upgrades you're seeing are worth it. We got to have next-gen features. We got to have a new DualSense. We got to do everything we can within the first few years of the PS6 to make it a success. Now, let me ask you this, and this is really the main point I'm trying to get at here. What do you think Sony does? Let's fast forward. The PlayStation 6 rolls out in 2027, and we fast forward to the year 2031. So that'd be what, 8, 9, 30. So it's like maybe 2031, 2032, 4 or 5 years of the console being on the market where it's past its halfway point. And it didn't do well. Sony sold 39 million PS6s. 39 million. That would be, let's just say, why would I say 39? Let's say 40 million. Why would I say 39? We sold 40 million PS6s over the course of 5 years. I can tell you in the eyes of Sony, that's a failure. In terms of a PlayStation console, that is an objective failure. So let's be a little bit more generous. 60 million. We've sold 60 million PS6s 5 years in. Still trending below the PS3. That's still going to be a problem. So what I'm basically trying to say here is, by the 5-year point, it becomes completely obvious to everybody the PS6 is not doing PS5, PS4, PS3, PS2, or even PS1 numbers. It's actually demonstrably less. What do you think Sony's more likely to do at that point? Moving forward, moving beyond the PS6, okay? Do you think they're more likely to say, okay, we need to try again with the PS7, and maybe the PS7 can be the next console to get well over 100 million sold? Or do you think they're more likely to say, okay, well, we tried, even though the cards were stacked against us, and, you know, we tried our best to make the PS6 just as successful we tried this business model to stick with it, that is, and make it just as successful as it was in the past, but it's different now. It's not as successful. Do you think they're more likely to basically re-embrace PC and expand beyond the console? Or do you think they're more likely to double down and say, we're doing another console with the PS7 that's going to do these exact same things in the hopes that we'll get more sales? I think the answer is obvious, guys. I'll be honest. I think the answer to that question is obvious. Vlund with a $5 chat says, Steam achievements, you can disable or enable them using a third-party program. Nobody cares about achievements unless it's Xbox because you get paid for them. I saw that yesterday. We were looking into that. And that's interesting. 60 million at the assumed price point, everyone is speculating, would be a lot of money, though. And that's true. And that's the thing, Shadowlink. I'm glad you mentioned that, because here's the thing. In my opinion, if Sony hits anywhere between 40 and 60 million PS6s sold lifetime, the answer isn't abandon console. It's over. Stop. The answer is actually, I'd say, more, it's something that makes more financial sense for Sony, where it's like, if you sell 60 million consoles, that's a lot of people, bro. And that's a lot of money, like you're saying. That's extremely valuable. Even if Sony sold half as many consoles as they did with the PS5, they sold 50 million. That's incredibly valuable, especially when you consider the type of spending that those players are doing on those consoles. But when you know that it's only going to be diminishing moving forward, that it's cut in half, and next gen it might be cut by another third, or something like that, the answer is you expand. And so, in other words, and let me put it to you this way. I don't know why I didn't just say this from the get-go. There's a company that's already doing this, guys. Do you know which company it is? Do you know? Oh, fuck. My neck. What the hell's on my... What the hell is that? Like fly throw up on my... Hold up, guys. Hold up. Give me a second. Feeling it today. So the company that's already doing what I'm describing is Xbox. All right. And if you want to know what the future PlayStation looks like, look at Xbox. And I don't mean... Let me elaborate on that. When it comes to consoles, it's only headed in one direction. All right. And that direction is down. And I know there's people that don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I like console. That's my preferred way to game, man. Like, I want consoles to thrive. But the reality of the situation is they're going down. And it's not necessarily Sony's fault completely. It's not Microsoft's fault completely. It's not Nintendo's fault completely. It just is the way it's going. Doesn't mean they can't ever come back up, but realistically, that's probably not going to happen. Especially as the younger generations come on board, you know, and they start to get a little bit older and they're used to playing Roblox and shit on their iPads. When I say if you want to look at if you want to know what the future of PlayStation is, look at Xbox. What I mean by that is look at what Xbox did when their console sales dropped. You know, what did they do? What has Xbox been doing ever since they realized we're never getting back to the Xbox 360 sales again? What's up, Aaron? What Microsoft did is they didn't stop making consoles. They still make consoles. They're still making them now. But they did also say, we need to expand. The only way we're going to grow is by and get more people into the Xbox ecosystem is we got to take the Xbox ecosystem to them. We make the console for those who want it. We bring the Xbox ecosystem as a whole to as many people as we can who are not willing to come to the console. So what I'm trying to say is if the PS6 is on the trajectory that a lot of us believe it is, and we don't know, I don't want to predict the future per se. You know, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but let's just say it's the worst case scenario. It's $1,000 box. People are totally underwhelmed. All games are cross-gen. Most people stay on PS5. Sony's having a real hard time selling these things. An entire generation goes by and they're like, God damn, we sold about half as many. Sony's going to do the same thing. They are already in the preparation stages of doing that. We need to understand that Sony in the background, Sony is already slowly getting PlayStation Plus ready to go beyond the console and beyond their own hardware. They probably are still, while they're probably not, you know, prioritizing it necessarily at the moment, they absolutely have some kind of launcher that has been worked on in the past or is maybe on ice right now, but it's something they're going to consider. They're doing, and make no mistake, Sony will put their games on PC again if you're going to get sales with Wolverine. But we talked about Intergalactic. Let's just say Intergalactic is underwhelming. It's soft sales-wise. Okay, it's just one game. And then every first-party game starts. I'm just saying, like, if they start selling less games because they're ultimately having less console sales because it's becoming more expensive, all these things that Sony. Here's what I want to know. I want to know what spooked Sony. That's what I want to know. Because we watched Sony this entire generation expand. They put Helldivers on Xbox, bro. They fucking put a game they published. They actively ported it to Xbox. Unheard of. All they've done is expand this generation. We're putting our games on PC. We're doing this. We're doing that. And then just one day, out of the blue, they're like, we're not doing any of that. Something spooked them. And I would fucking love to know what it was. I would love to know. Because something, I don't know if maybe it was their I mean, we've speculated heavily they just didn't make enough money. But I don't know. Like, they made the decision, like, we are betting, we are doubling and tripling down on our console player base. But that's why it's so crazy that they would make this decision to end discs. Because it's like, they don't want to take the 30% cut. I mean, that's a possibility. I don't know that that's the case, though, because if they had sold way more copies of their games on Steam, like millions more, something tells me they would be happy with that. They were totally happy to lose that 30% for Helldivers. That's why they're still putting live service games on there. So I don't know that that's the reason. Happy to see the channel still going strong. MBG, keep grinding. I'm off to work. Well, thank you, Rudy. Nobody on PC wants to create a PSN account. Well, this is what I'll tell you. This is it, like, here's what I would do if I was Sony. All right, this is what I would do. I would do what Sony's doing. Not except I would still make physical games. But I would put all of my eggs going into the PS6 generation in the console basket. I would double and triple down and say, we're going to give it our best shot. It's looking rough. It's looking like we're not going to be able to be as successful as we were in previous generations, but we're going to try. We can't assume that. We're going to give it our best effort, just like we always have, and we're going to hope for the best. And here would be my plan. You know, my plan B would be, one of the things we're doing by going all digital is we are going to make the PlayStation storefront immaculate. We are going to make it undeniably one of the best places to buy and play your video games. We're going to make the PlayStation Store so good that people are going to be in fucking shock for how good it is. They're going to be like, it's going to make the PS Store as it looks right now on the PS5 and what we got in the past with the PS4 like a joke. It's going to make it look like a joke. And so that way, and here's the key. Here's the key. This is exactly what I would do if I was at Sony. That way, number one, people are not going to be as upset transitioning to the PS6. That's number one. They'll be happy that we made these changes and they'll feel good about finally maybe embracing a digital ecosystem. Number two, and this might be even more important, number two is if things really start to go south, if the console market really does collapse and sales are in the fucking gutter and we can't find a way forward through hardware sales, our storefront, we would have emboldened and strengthened our digital ecosystem to where we now have the confidence to drop our ecosystem onto the PC platform and feel like we could actually be a viable competitor to Steam. Do you see what I'm saying here? Do you see where I'm coming from? Not to say that you're going to win Steam players over necessarily, because again, that's where their libraries exist. But to say that you are now opening the PlayStation ecosystem to over 1 billion people, and when they look at your ecosystem, when they look at your storefront, if they're going to do comparisons to how does the PlayStation Store compare to, how does the PlayStation digital ecosystem compare to Steam? How does it compare to GOG? How does it compare to Epic Game Store? So on and so forth. If Sony wants to have a fighting chance to expand, if that's what they feel they need to do, and trust me, they will eventually have to. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It might not be next gen, could be by the year 2038 or something. But when that day comes, they're going to need to consider that. Because let me ask you this. You remember when Sony was in the process of porting all their games to PC? And this was like 2 years ago. And we had come across those job listings where it said Sony was building a PC launcher. We would always just come to the immediate conclusion that that's pointless. That's a stupid idea. Like, you're not going to compete with Steam. You know? And I still feel that way because nothing has really changed. But that's where it's like, when I look at Steam, as now having some firsthand experience, it's like, oh, Sony, you definitely could. You're just choosing not to. So it's like, Sony's going to take it to the edge, is what I'm saying. Sony won't budge until they have to. And that's why, so these conversations we've been having about next gen, as redundant as they may be, they're so fascinating. because it's like, I just place your bets, man. Place your bets. Does it happen with the PS6? I can't wait to find out. Because like Sony's gonna have to pull some crazy shit out of their ass. They're gonna have to pull some of the wildest stuff out to win people over for the PS6. You know, and they might. I mean, so Sony are pros. I'm not saying they don't. I want to give Sony credit where it's due. Sony knows what they're doing in this regard. They're not fools. They make mistakes. Obviously, they make huge mistakes, but they've done certain things right. Like, what I'm trying to say is there's a reason why they're in a strong position. They've done things right enough where it counts. So we're going to see if that, but it's just this time they really have to do it like something right. Like they really have to be convincing. According to today's talk, this gen is over. The PS6 will be a massive failure. The console will be dead after the PS6. So let's be absolutely depressed for the next 15 years. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the PS6 has a high likelihood of not being anywhere near as successful as the PS5. We have to ask the question, what does Sony do in that instance? Assuming they'll do something. Could Sony do nothing? They could do nothing. Sony could just say 50 million is good enough. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they can do that because the shareholders are going to say that's not acceptable. So if we are trying to read the tea leaves here, you know, and it's like the PS6 won't do as well as the PS5. What's the next logical step for Sony to continue to grow the PlayStation business? The next logical step is keep making consoles. And by the way, if Sony were to make a PC launcher and they were to go back to PC and they were to basically follow in Microsoft's footsteps, where it's like we're expanding everywhere, we're going everywhere. If they were to do that, they will still make consoles. I know people are not going to like that I'm saying this, but I've really been pondering this in case you can't tell. I really have. And it's, you know, again, me dabbling on Steam has really accelerated my my thinking. It's not accelerated. It's really planted different seeds in my brain of like, oh, like, you know, it's just making me see a different side to it. People are not going to like them saying this. Sony needs to do what Xbox is doing, and they need to do it now while they're ahead. Sony needs to do it now. I know I'm going to sound crazy for saying this. Sony was on the right path. Sony was on the right path when they were dropping their games on PC and when they were starting to expand. They were on the right path. And I'm telling you that because guess what? How many consoles did Sony sell this gen? Answer. Tell me. Roadkill. Tell me right now, how many consoles did Sony sell this generation? Irv was like, bro. How many consoles did they sell? You said 98 million. Close. 95 million. Now let me ask you this. What has Sony done this entire generation? Did they A, only have true PS5 exclusives that you couldn't get on PS4 or PC? Or did they B, have mostly cross-gen games that you could also get on PS4 and then eventually on PC as well? We know the answer to that question. It's B. So what I'm trying to tell you is Sony has sold nearly 100 million consoles while doing all this shit. They fucking put Helldivers on Xbox. They put Horizon Lego on Switch, and they put almost every game on PC, and they still sold almost 100 million consoles. The reason why I'm saying Sony needs to follow Microsoft's path now is because Microsoft's Ashish Sharma sees this is what Ashish Sharma is doing. Like, I had this epiphany. I had this realization. Okay, this awakening. I was focused on the fact that look at what Asha Sharma's saying in her big plan for the reset. She's basically saying she wants to do what Sony's doing. We're focusing on the console. The console is the priority. The console is at the center of everything we do. But we also want to expand our IP. We want to start making movies and TV shows. We want to be expanding Play Anywhere. We want to expand the Xbox ecosystem. We also want to have a presence on PC. I'm like, this is literally everything. So essentially, what Asha Sharma's doing differently than Phil is this. Phil came in, did all those things, except it was all about Game Pass. Asha's saying, no, we're doing all those things, but it's about the console first and foremost. Instead of everything revolving around Game Pass, it's going to revolve around console. Okay, what does that mean? It means there will be some exclusives. Okay, but what about everything else? We'll figure that out later. But that's the thing. Even with Xbox, something like Gears of War E-Day is day one on Steam. It's day one on PC. But they also have their own Xbox ecosystem on PC through the Xbox app that they're planning on improving. That's nowhere near as good as Steam or as used as much as Steam, but it's there nonetheless, right? I'm saying, dude, Sony's gonna have to do this. And I think they got scared. I think Sony got freaked the fuck out. I'm going to tell you, this is what I think happened. I think Sony got a reality check that scared the living shit out of them. Okay? I think Sony had, I don't want to say delusions of grandeur, but high expectations. I think they expected, we're taking our stuff and we're putting it out there. People are going to go crazy. And, you know, in the beginning, they did a little bit, but it fell off real quick. You know? You mean if Sony goes full exclusive, they can go beyond 100 million? I think they were going to hit 100 million either way, dude. Like, even something like, the thing is, something like GTA 6 not launching day one on PC overrides every exclusive. That alone gets Sony to 100 million. I'm not saying that's something they can rely on perpetually, but it's just the truth of this generation. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, I think Sony, they were like, oh, shit, we're not doing great out here. We're doing great on our console and in our own ecosystem. We tried to go out there. We're not doing great. This is why I said Sony had one of two decisions to make. Either you now go back to what you were doing because you realize how valuable that is. And that this half in, half out shit is only serving to make people confused and not sure what they want to do. And it's messing up your messaging. Your only other option is now you go all in. Well, this is why I was saying, like, Wolverine, I think, was the game that, like, last year when we talked about Wolverine, that was a game that it was assumed it's going to come to PC. Not day one, but a year later, maybe two. But you'll get it on PC. Sony will publish it on PC. And then they made the change. And now Wolverine is only on PlayStation 5, and that's seemingly the only place it's going to stay. Maybe it'll make its way to PS6. And that's because a decision had to be made where Sony realized it's not worth porting Wolverine a year or two later. So your option is simple. Either make it fully exclusive or port it to PC day one. And Sony chose not to port it to PC day one. Now, I can't say that I blame them. And you know why? Because if I'm Sony, if I'm making those decisions, and I know, okay, our money is made and our business model is based on the console, what are the chances that dropping Wolverine day one on PC will hurt our console sales? It might. It probably wouldn't help. But if we kept it exclusive, it would help. Probably. For the PS5, doesn't matter. PS5, gen's already done. You're already selling 100 million. GTA 6 is launching on PS5. It's not launching on PC. You're good. You're golden. This is where it all comes back down to the PS6, guys. I'm telling you this. I'm going to make it as clear cut as I can. All right. It's all going to be laid out on the line for Sony with the PS6. The PS6 is a make or break moment for the PlayStation brand. That's not to say that PlayStation. You know what? Let me walk that back. It's not make or break. The PS6 is going to be the determining factor in whether or not the brand does a complete 180 and goes in a completely different direction, or it stays the course. The PS6 determines that, not the PS5. The PS5 gen is done. But Sony is betting right now. They are betting on what has come before. And I can't blame them. But I need them. I would hope that, like, you do know it's not 1994. It's not. Oh, is Boss in here? Oh, what's up, Boss? It's not 1994. It's not 2006. It's not 2013. You know? It's 2026. You know, just if you take the exact same approach you took for every previous console generation and you assume it will work because it's worked every time, I get it. You're taking the if it's not broke, don't fix it approach. Can't blame you on that one. But things are different. This generation leading into it, the circumstances are different. And so I think it definitely needs to be considered. You know, they need to consider the fact that if this thing fucking flops, there's only one thing that's going to need to happen after that. Hold on. Sorry, I was muted. I was just talking to myself out loud. It says, that's really weird. On Streamlabs, it says I've been live for how long? It says I've been live for 43 minutes, but on YouTube, it says I've been live for 2 hours. That's weird. Give him some catnip. All right. Well, anyway, I guess the reason why I was saying I think Sony was on the right path is because, dude, honestly, I think that it is inevitable that Sony's going to have to expand. And I think they should just get ahead of it now. I mean, I don't know. I'm like torn. Like, I think they were on the right path, but at the same time, I kind of can't blame them if it's like, we're going into another console generation. We really got to tighten everything up and funnel people to the console. I get that too. Like, I completely understand that. And I don't think they're wrong for doing that. But I guess, you know what? I guess they're like, we got to try, right? Because if you think about it, it's like you're still going to try to you're still going to try to do it this way, even if the console is going to be $800, $900, maybe even $1,000. And it's like, well, we got to try. Because think about it. From Sony's perspective, if it doesn't work, they can do this stuff anyway. You don't want the console to be dead. No, I don't want the console to die. I'm the opposite. I want it to thrive, but it's like the conditions that are needed for it to thrive at this time and seemingly in the short-term future, it's like the conditions are getting so bad it looks like it might be enough to kill it. You know, if things go bad enough. And that to me is the more concerning part. You don't want to see, in my opinion, it depends on who you ask. I'm going to be honest. I want to see Sony hit the fucking wall with the PS6. Not because the PS6, I think, is going to be a great console in terms of it's Mark Cerny's console. It's going to be an amazing piece of tech, an amazing piece of hardware, and I think it'll run games incredibly. I think Sony Studios will, do incredible things with their games if they're making them exclusively for the PS6. But I want, from a business perspective, I want Sony to hit the fucking wall, and I want them to hit it hard. I can't deny that, man. I can't deny, and you know why? I'm going to tell you why. Because the moment they hit that fucking wall, they're going to come crawling back. And what I mean by that is like, dude, they're going to be like, wait. We didn't mean it. You know what I mean? We've seen it happen over and over. It happens every time, dude, with every video game company. They get cocky, they fuck up, they get humbled, and they're like, we apologize. Let us make it right. That's why I'm not, dude, I want to see Sony hit again, unless they're smart enough to avoid the wall. Sony, are you smart enough to make the necessary changes and announcements between now and the PS6 to facilitate an actual exciting digital ecosystem? Are you? I would hope so. But maybe not. And if you're not, then the only way we're going to get that is if you hit the fucking wall. You know what I mean? They're too big. It's too big to fail in their eyes. I mean, I would hope that's not how they view it. I would hope not, man. That would be disastrous if they have that actual mentality, because it's like, y'all fucking crazy. Pride comes before the fall. It does. It's true. I'm going dark on the side. I'm going to the dark side. No, dude, like I'm saying what I'm saying because I want PlayStation to be better, man. Like that's all this comes down to. Like I'm not saying I'm not a PlayStation hater. I'm the opposite. You know, I'm saying it from a place of care, man, where it's like, listen, as I've went to PC and I've been talking to a lot more PC players, the amount of PC players that I've come across were like, yeah, I used to like PlayStation, or they even bought into the PS5 generation, but they're like, I'm just not a fan of the direction Sony's going in. I'm not a fan of their business practices. This is why I'm saying, like, people don't want to hate PlayStation. They don't want to hate them. They don't, I mean, maybe some people do, but realistically, broadly speaking, people want PlayStation to be the best it can be. And that's where I just feel like Sony's, it's like, you just get in your, I think the same is with Xbox, dude. Like, that's been the problem with Xbox for like a decade, where people would always misinterpret me, where they're like, oh, you just want to hate Xbox. It's like, no, dude, I want them to get better. Like, that's what I've been wanting Xbox to get better in many instances. And that's, you know, what my vision of better is, maybe differs from somebody else's vision, but, you know, we got to put more respect on Sony's name. We'll see. I mean, I do respect some of the things that Sony has done, because I am a believer in giving credit where it's due. I'm not going to sit here and pretend, like I said, that they don't have some amazing studios and they allow those studios to make some amazing games. They do, you know, and I love the hardware, dude. I like the Pro is a great fucking console. This is what I'm saying. Like, almost everything surrounding PlayStation is great. They have great dev talent. They have great studios. They have Mark Cerny. Their engineering teams are great. You know, they have great IP. They have incredible brand recognition. They have an incredible portfolio of hardware and accessories. They have it all. But from a higher level business, decision-making standpoint, it's like you guys are you're teetering on the edge of like you're becoming the corporate villains, guys. And unfortunately, no matter how great all those things are I just mentioned, that villainy is going to like, not in the eyes of everybody, but in terms of reputation, in terms of perception, that has a tendency to, like it matters. It matters, man. And it may not matter in the short term, but in the mid to long term, it will matter. You play the villain of the role, or the villain of the role. You play the role of the villain long enough, it has an extremely deleterious effect. Ask EA. You guys remember when EA was voted the worst fucking company in America like numerous times? You think they didn't give a shit about that? Oh, they cared. They were like, what the fuck, bro? Were they still making money? Yeah. Were they still finding success? Yeah, but it mattered because they understood that if it can't stay that way, eventually it'll catch up to them. Eventually people will. Your reputation gets bad enough, suddenly you have a fuck up. You ain't got no goodwill. Suddenly that fuck up may be your last. That's the problem. That's the problem. Anyway, I'm just ranting at this point. PlayStation's getting back to the 2006 roots. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. I'm eager. I'm very eager. I don't like being in this place, to be honest. I'm not comfortable in this place. And the place I'm describing is like, I don't like being in this in-between area. I would like some answers, and I know I'm not going to be getting them until probably next year. No, well, you're saying you act like they're the only ones that are digital and expensive. None of these corporos give a fuck about our feelings. No, I know. I'm not placing all the blame on Sony, dude. It's just a matter of like, Sony could win even bigger than they are. And I know people are like, oh, you know better than Sony. It's like, no, I'm not saying I know better than them, but it's like, I'm a PlayStation, like I'm on the PlayStation ecosystem. I am like the PlayStation fan. I can tell you right now, as somebody, like I'm the one talking to people. You know what I mean? Like I'm the one engaging with people. I'm not just looking at spreadsheets. I'm just trying to tell Sony, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can. But they're too conservative. They're too scared. Like Sony's afraid to do a refund policy at all because they're afraid people are going to exploit it. And it's like, okay, that's a valid fear. People will, but you should, like, that's a sacrifice that's worth making because most people won't. And the few that do, you can punish them. It's not fucking hard. You know what I mean? Like, you know what it does require on Sony's end, though? Actually having a better support service. That's what it requires. And that's what Sony doesn't want to do. They don't want to be bothered with, actually hiring a better company and building something out where it's like, here's what you do if somebody's exploiting it. Here's what to be on the lookout for if somebody's exploiting it. But other than that, we want to have great customer service and make people feel extremely comfortable spending money and taking some chances on our digital ecosystem. Again, I'm just a dude sitting in a chair. Why can I think of that right now? Why can I come up with a fucking fantastic, incredible, this is only going to help us going into the digital future idea? I'm not on Sony's salary. Maybe it should be. But that's the thing, is like the people who are making these decisions at Sony right now, from what I can tell, until they come out and confirm otherwise, it seems like they're like, no, we don't want to fucking give you a refund. Well, that's the thing. I don't know, Irvin. I don't know. I feel like I'm a fool if I assume they are. Because what do I do when I find out they're not? It's like, no, they're not thinking of that. Dude, Sony's the worst. Good luck trying to get a refund on the PlayStation Store, bro. Holy shit. Sean Mitchell with a 10-pound chat says, studio shutdowns, good games canceled for slop to release this error. The decision-making has been going down a slippery slope at PlayStation this gen. It really makes me consider my next move on top of physical. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think a lot of people are in this place of like, but if you look at the games that are coming out, undeniably, you probably want to play some of them, if not all of them. And that's where people say, like, well, at the end of the day, all that matters is the games, right? Probably. We can't say that for everything. If that was true, things would have turned out different for the Xbox One. Things would have turned out different for the Wii U. Things would have turned out different for the PS3. It's not always the case, but there's got to be that balancing act. And this is where it's like, Sean, to what you're saying, I just hope that the horrific string of decision-making with things that are so obviously bad, I hope it's like, get it out of the way now. Get that shit out of the way now, because you can't be making mistakes like that come next gen. You can't be making mistakes like that at the launch of the PS6. You know? A refund? They will 100% change the refund policy. They have to. They're going to get sued to oblivion if they don't. That's something that they have to. That's the thing about Valve that I understand, is that like Valve did require some pushing. You know, people had to push back against them. I've been talking to PC players, and they're, you know, people who've been with them for a long time are like, yeah, dude, the early days of Steam, some shit was hitting the fan. It was a little bit ugly, you know, like it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. And that's where I'm like, that makes sense, you know, because Valve is also a company. You know, they're privately owned, but of course they want to make money. But they had to learn some things the hard ways as well. And so it's, you know, nobody's going to be perfect. But this is where I'm like, well, they went through that. You know, Valve being the first big, like, digital-only storefront on PC that really blew up, it took them 15 years to get it right. Well, that's the thing, is it's like, Sony should be thankful for that, and that, like, there's your, like, you have a company that went through this trial by fire that you don't have, like Sony, you don't have to learn the hard way either. You don't have, you know what I mean? You can learn from their mistakes. And I just have this fear that Sony's like, nah, we gotta do it our own way. And that's why I bring up things like Concord, and I get scared, because it's like, you could say the same thing about Concord. Like, how many other games before Concord failed miserably, and how many companies failed miserably, where it's like, just don't do that, and you should be okay. And they're like, do what? This is our game, Concord. It's like that, literally that. And they're like, don't do that. But we already did it. That's what I'm talking about, man. This is why I am very, very nervous about Sony in the future, because it's like, this is what we've been watching, man. It's like the only thing I'm telling you, and this is Sony's like only saving grace, bro. There's only two things, and these things matter so fucking much, but this is it. The only two things Sony has gotten right. We understand how valuable Mark Cerny is. Mark Cerny is the PlayStation. He's literally the PlayStation. Without Mark Cerny, there is no amazing PlayStation hardware. At least not what we got with the PS4 and the PS5, and what will probably be the PS6. The second thing is somebody at Sony, maybe Herman, maybe he does deserve credit here. If not Herman, Hideaki Nishino, somebody at Sony at least understands, I think we still need to make single-player games. I think we still need to let our studios that are known for critically acclaimed single-player games keep making single-player games. Somebody understood that. Believe me, when I want you to think for a moment where PlayStation would be right now if they didn't get those two things right. It would be bad. It would be real fucking bad. This is why I'm saying, like, now you need to add a third one to that now. You're evolving. The third, Hideaki Nishino, rise up. Rise up, my friend. This is your time. Leave your mark. Hideaki Nishino can be the one to say, there's a third thing we got to get right. It's our digital ecosystem. We got to get it right. No half measures, no half-assing it. We're killing the disc. We got to get it right. He can be the one to do it. But he's got to be, he's got to, Ken would have gave me a rerun. Bring back Ken Kutaragi. He probably would come back. The father of PlayStation. Well, man, I mean, I think Sony would do well to also remember their history in gaming too. You know, I think it would serve them well at this point. They have some, you know, I just, the communication with, that's one other thing I'll mention too. I understand that their PlayStation players are like, we don't need to have like a parasocial relationship with Sony. No, we don't. But it would go so long. It would go such a long way for Sony to not. Sony. Listen, the reason why Sony is not forward facing anymore to their customers in terms of communication is because they don't have to be. And that's one of the reasons why I'm like, man, it sure would be great if you just got fucking checked. Because you know what made Sony get really lovey-dovey and close to their customers? When they got fucking checked by them. They checked themselves, and then Microsoft checked them with the 360, and they found out real fucking quick. Let's start talking to the fans again. Let's start communicating a little bit. Let's make a fake executive and make fun of corporate in the name of earning goodwill and winning people back. And hopefully that will translate to sales. And it did. Isn't that crazy? But that's the thing, man. Sony right now is like, we got to make some tough business decisions in the name of future growth. And let me tell you, there ain't no sugarcoating it. Actually, let me just not tell you nothing. That you're right. You're right. And that's, you see what I'm saying, Irfan? It makes the PS6 all the more interesting. That's why I can't fucking wait, because it's like, Sony, you don't have to say or do shit now, next month, or the month after, or the month after, or the month after, because it's over. We're at the very end of the gen. You can be silent. You can be as quiet as you want. But when you come out with the PS6, you're going to have to speak. Not to your investors. Well, you're going to have to talk to your investors, but now you're actually going to have to speak to us. And you know what these fuckers are going to do? They're going to throw Mark Cerny out there. They'll be like, go ahead, Mark. They still like you. And Mark's going to be like, but I don't want to be the one to have to answer questions about the disk drive. And they're like, yeah, well, sorry. You're gone after this anyway, right? This is your last console. I worry, man. I worry so much about how dude, listen. I don't want Sony to have any. If they come out with the PS6 with the same energy they have with this disc announcement, we're fucked. Like we're fucked 6 ways from Sunday, dude. Because the energy they have come out with this disc energy is literally like, we are hiding and we're doing this and we don't care, but we don't want to deal with any of you. Okay? Like we're good. We got GTA on our side. We don't need to deal with this right now. I'm just so afraid that Sony's going to come out with the PS6 like that. It's like, bro, do you not understand? We'll see. I know. I got it. I hope something else happens this week, because I got to get away from this conversation. I've been overly fixated on this conversation, as you guys can tell. I've basically been a broken record. But I know it's not just me. Like, I know that this is what people are thinking of too. Because and it's like I was trying to say a little bit ago, it's because I feel uncomfortable. I don't like You know, I went from being 100% certain I'm upgrading to the PS6 and I'm excited for the PS6 generation and it's going to be a good time and this PS5 generation is going to end with a bang. I felt so certain about that to now I'm not at all. Like I do feel like this generation is going to end with a bang. That's still certain in terms of the quality of the games we're getting, which is great. And that's probably the most important thing. But it's looking beyond that where it's like I want things to work out a certain way, and I feel very nervous they're not going to. And the reason why that makes me nervous is because it's like, it's no offense to Steam, and it's no offense to PC, or it's no offense to Xbox, it's no offense to Nintendo, but it's like I was trying to say, I like so much of what PlayStation has established here that it's like, if you guys could just make changes and get better in this like huge area that is a major red flag and concern, I could like, it would be so much easier for me and so many others to just comfortably be like, this can work. This is good, you know? But I just don't know that I could comfortably go into next gen if Sony comes out with this energy, man. That's the shit that I like, because what's my alternative? I have two other alternatives. I could say I'm not going to talk about it until we know. All right, well, I guess I could do that, but I'm not sure what else to talk about at this exact moment. Maybe it's my fault because I kind of do want to keep talking about it, but it's because it's at the forefront of my mind. So I don't know. Y'all thought we were talking about something else today? Maybe I don't know. I'm gonna have to, if I'm gonna talk about something else, it's gonna have to be something that really, I don't know. It's gonna have to be something that really overrides this, because this to me is like, it's because I feel like something's on fire, and like we were just told like we're not putting the fire out. And you know, I'm playing on PC a little bit, and that's going to be a thing that remains. But it's like there is this, it's not a pressure, because it's not that serious, but it is like it's an uncertainty of like, am I still going to be playing on PlayStation by 2028? Or am I going to be full PC? And PlayStation is like only occasionally for exclusives. When Sony announces the PS6, is it going to be a crisis? Because that matters a lot to what I do here. That has a huge impact on what I do here. Like, it feels like I'm, you know, I know a lot of people would tell me just have the assumption, like just expect the worst. And I can't do that. Because here's the thing, if I do that, I leave now. If I convince myself that the worst outcome is the one that's going to happen, then I'm going to nip it in the bud right now. And I don't want to do that. You know? And so it's like, I have to have some, maybe it is coping, but it's like, or it's the hopium. I'm high on the hopium. I have to have some semblance of like belief that there is a plan. Like, you're not going to be like Dutch Vanderlyn, right? Like you actually do have a plan, and it's actually going to come together in a better way than what we're seeing right now. Because if not, it's going to be tough. You know, it's going to be tough. I won't lie. Like, not to sound dramatic about it, but like, yeah, it's going to be like, well, you know, it's time to move on and make different decisions now. And not to say I'll never play on PlayStation, but it's just like, it's a big deal for me, you know? Like, as I'm like experimenting with Steam and stuff, I'm like genuinely thinking like, could this be my new home? and I'm going through that. And I know it's just the type of person I am. I'm a loyal person like that, where like when I like having options, but I have a tendency, it's more than obvious, where like when I settle on something, I settle on it, and it takes a lot to uproot me. It takes a lot to get me to migrate somewhere else. And I'm just like, Sony, come on, man, don't fucking do it, bro. I don't want to do it, but I'm just preparing. That's all. Preparing for the potential storm. All right. Let me come back to the chat here. Pretty sure you'll buy a PS6. They'll do some FromSoft shit and we're hooked. Bloodborne 2, guys. I mean, fuck. Yeah, that would do it. That would do it. Sony, you know what? That's why Sony hasn't done anything with Bloodborne, because like when we announced Bloodborne 2, we can do whatever we want. We could do whatever we want. Buzz knows what I'm talking about. MBG, you'll be good with a Pro for exclusives and PC for third party. Possibly. I mean, that could be the setup. Maybe. I mean, I still like. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know how my behavior towards PlayStation is going to change once I have no more option to buy physical. It might not change as dramatically as I think, but it might. It might. Because I'll tell you, when I do look at Steam and I'm like looking at the games library and everything, I'm like, it's something about Steam feels so different. No, because it's digital only. I don't know why. And I guess it is the fact that they have had so many years to refine what they do, because it's only pretty much been digital only, and like, I don't know how to explain it. It feels like strange to me that I've been gifted dozens of games, and I just like go on and they're just there. Like it doesn't feel real in a sense. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's like yep, you just have a library of games, and they're just there. They're digital only, and they're just there. And I don't know. It's I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say. It just feels different. It's kind of like how I said this before. People would ask me, they were like, would you ever go to Game Pass, or would you ever like subscribe to a higher tier of PlayStation Plus? And I always said there were two reasons I wouldn't do it. Number one, because it's all digital only. And number two, I usually get overwhelmed. Like, I don't really engage with games like that. I get easily overwhelmed when I have way too many games to look at, and I usually hone in on just a few that I really want to play. And so I've always liked the idea of whatever games I want to play, I'll just buy the physical copies of. I'd much rather have that than have, hundreds of games to choose from. But I always said that if physical ever went away, my outlook on games as a whole kind of changes, because suddenly I'm not just thinking about here's a better way to explain it. One of the things that would give me pause about paying more money to subscribe to a service where I have access to more games is because I would always think, like, if this is a game I'm interested in playing, I'd rather just buy the physical copy. If that no longer exists, then I'll just play the game through the service. But another way of framing it, because I'm doing an awful job of explaining it. Another way of framing it is, you remember how I told you guys about how I feel about trophies and achievements? It's kind of like that. If you remove trophies and achievements, I engage differently with games. My behavior changes. A switch in my brain flips. It's the same thing with physical games. If you remove physical games, I engage differently with digital games. Whether that is a good or a bad change is probably subjective, you know? But I no doubt my behavior changes. And so that's kind of why, like, I notice, like, I feel differently about games on Steam than I do on PlayStation. And that's peculiar to me. Like, why is that? Why is that? And it's because it's the nature of, like, this is your first time engaging with a digital only ecosystem where physical games don't exist. And I didn't quite realize that, like, my mentality towards it it's just feels different. I wish I could explain it better, but fucking hey, I worked out my arms yesterday, and holy shit, are they sore. But guys, listen, we are over 2.5 hours into the stream. I did tell you guys I was going to keep this one a little bit shorter today, although the conversation was wholly redundant. So we'll stream for 5, maybe 10 more minutes, and I want to do a last call here. If you have anything you want to drop, any more support, memberships, anything like that, super chats, donos, now is the time to do it, because we are going to wrap it up in a couple minutes. I don't want to overdo it today because my neck is fucking killing me, and unfortunately sitting in this position, just staying still for too long, and unless I'm laying down, staying still for too long when my neck is feeling like this is not good for it. Damn Sony. Sony getting my blood pressure up again. I don't know, but I like getting excited at the thought of all the tech in the PS6 maybe downgraded for cost now. Well, that's what I mean. Like, I do think that when it comes to the actual PS6 hardware for both the handheld and the console, it's going to be awesome. You know? I was going to talk about the Beast of Reincarnation reviews, but I don't know. I'll just summarize it real quick, because it's not a game I'm playing at the moment, and I will say it's sitting at a 73 on Metacritic. It's got 30 positive reviews, 25 mixed. And my understanding of this game, so like the broad takeaway from pretty much all of the reviews, is that apparently the combat is great. The combat in this game is really, really good, really satisfying, top notch, but almost everything else around it is like mid. The biggest complaint I've seen is a lack of variety. Apparently, like, there's a severe lack of variety in the enemies, in the environments, even in the music, in the boss battles. So, you know, it sounds like it could still be a good game for people if you really like satisfying feeling combat. But if you're somebody who would get annoyed at the idea, or, you know, just not enjoy the a game that has a lack of variety, you might not be interested in this. But a 73 isn't horrible. It's not great. It's just, to me, a 73 is like, it's okay to good. You know, I don't think it's bad. But it's a 73 tells me it's definitely lacking some things that you maybe would have expected to be there otherwise. Gears of War E-Day was made for the PS5, but it got pulled at the last minute. Finished PS5 version of Gears of War E-Day was canceled, reliable sources say. Is that coming out from somewhere? I mean, I believe that 100%. I think that's obvious. I don't know if that's coming from somewhere, though, but Gears of War E-Day was 100% going to launch on PlayStation. But, I mean, I think it'll probably do okay. I think it'll do okay. Hopefully more news tomorrow. I mean, yeah, things are a little bit, I mean, there's some stuff coming out, but I don't know. I think sometimes I get a little, I think I do this to myself. It's not your fault. It's not like the game industry's fault. I think sometimes I do these longer streams that go on and on. Like, I mean, the stream I did on Sunday was I streamed for 6 hours Sunday, which it's not the time itself. It's that what I don't realize is like I'm talking to a point of burnout where it's like I need to recharge. You know, like I don't have much left to say. It's hard to, I don't know if I'm explaining that right either. It's kind of like, you ever notice when you engage with things? I notice this with drumming. Sometimes I notice it with video games too. But like with drumming, if I drum every day, I just notice that I don't feel as good about it. Like I'm not enjoying it. I want to say even enjoying it. Like I feel like I'm not playing as good. To whereas if I drum like 2 days in a row, then take a day or two off, sometimes even longer, and then I drum again. When I return to the drum, to play the drums that day, it just like I'm just different. Like I'm playing great, feels better. So it's probably something like that, I bet. Like I probably would have more to say about other topics. I need to give a little bit more space in between. I could be wrong, but I might have to test that out and see. My drums are Yamaha, yeah. I'll tell you what spooks Sony: 2 things. 1, the chip prices increasing. 2, Concord and The Last of Us multiplayer failing and spending all that money. Yeah, I have no doubt. I used to work and lift heavy weights until I snapped my back many years ago. Never been the same. Hopefully your neck fully heals. I mean, yeah, I hope it does too. It's going on a long time. It's going on a long time now. But the doctor seems to be confident. All right, hold on. Why is X-Volt attacking you? I don't know, man. That's the second time I was asked that question. I don't know. Why does anybody attack me? Serious question. People think like the strangest thing about me doing YouTube for this long is the amount of people that have had, I don't know, like that, the amount of people that have attacked me where it's like, dude, I'm not going after anybody. Like I tried to defend myself once or twice just to realize like this is stupid. Like this is fucking stupid. Like I'm not interested in this. It's funny sometimes. Like it almost gets to a point where it's funny. It's like, what are we doing here, guys? But I play the bass. Sorry, I slapped the bass. There you go. Here's a good thing for you to end the stream in a positive way. Sony axed Bluepoint, but Fair Games is still alive. You're welcome. I love how Earth is just like, you know what? I got some more gasoline here. I'm just going to toss it in. All right. I'm just going to toss it in. It can only help. Gears of War E-Day multiplayer beta August 6th through 10th. I might try it out. Yeah. The beta. I think they get even more mad because you don't address these nobodies. I mean, I don't even view it that way, man. It's just like, I don't know. I think if we're all being honest, if we're being 100, right? We're going to be 100. Anybody who is taking time out of their life, time you won't get back because you'll die one day. We don't know what happens when we die. Maybe you do get your time back. Maybe you get to relive your life all over again. I don't fucking know. But the assumption is time is valuable because we don't know if we get it back. Okay? If this is the case, then if we're going to keep it 100, any human being, I say it like there's going to, like there's animals doing it too. Any person who decides I'm going to make a YouTube channel, or I'm going to make a TikTok account, or I'm going to do Instagram videos, whatever it might be, your goal is to get people to watch you. Now, how you go about achieving that goal is entirely up to you. But the intention is always the same. The intention is always the same. And that's, I just view everything through that lens. I view everything through the lens of no matter what I see people doing, it is to get viewership. And the argument really, it doesn't become semantical. Sometimes it can, but it's, at that point, it just comes down to the ethics and the morals of like, okay, well, it's up to you to determine what the right or wrong way is to go about getting views. Me personally, I look at what I do and I've come to the conclusion that I'm not doing anything wrong. The only thing that I'm doing wrong, in my own personal opinion, is I hurt myself unnecessarily. I'm too honest for my own good. I cause problems for myself that are completely needless and pointless because I don't know when to hush. That's my problem. Other than that, I don't see anything wrong with anything I'm doing. I cover news. I convey the news. I have a stream where the purpose of the stream is for you to get my stream of consciousness and my thoughts, my opinions, my feelings. And as a human being, my thoughts, my feelings, and my opinions change. Sometimes they change quickly. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes they never change. Depends on what the topic is. In other words, what I'm saying is I'm just being a human being. That's what I'm doing. But I guess it's the intention that matters. My intention with my YouTube channel has only ever been something good. And I can say that, I can take that to my grave. I've never come into this channel thinking I want to deceive or manipulate or do anything that would be unsavory, I guess you could say. To be honest, even if I did, or even if others do, which some people do, it's not even that serious because it's like, bro, take a look around. It's the internet in 2026. Like there's almost an unspoken agreement that we're allowed to do this now. Doesn't mean I'm doing it. I'm not. It's almost gotten to a point where it's almost like, I don't know, man. It's almost like there are no bounds anymore. You know what I'm saying? It kind of feels that way when I look around. And that's fine. Like it is what it is. I don't make the rules. I just think that people just have to decide for themselves what they want to do. They're like, trust me, I've told you guys this, and I will put it out here plainly because there's nothing to hide. Like, if I determine that at some point I just want to chase more viewership because it's what I want to do, I want to do it for my own, not just my own bottom line, but like maybe I need to do it. Maybe it's like if I don't do it, my channel won't survive, whatever it might be, or I just want to for the sake of it. I want more money. I want more exposure. I want more viewership. I want more popularity. If I decide I want any of these things, there are different things I can do, and you'll see me do them. And I will tell you, that this is why I'm doing it. Maybe I won't, because that's the thing, right? Like, it's just one of these things in life where it's like, does everything need to be spoken? Probably not. Oh, thank you, Gav. That's kind of you to say. I appreciate that. You want more cheese on your pizza? Like I said, some things don't have to be spoken. Just kidding. What color is your second Bugatti, MBG? I don't want to be rich, man. I just want to be... I don't know. I remember I was watching this video, and this video was it was like a study that was done on like thousands of people. It's basically asking them, like, what are your thoughts on money? You know, like, would money make, like, do you believe money makes you happy? Would more money make you happy? You're saying, MBG, I think you're one of the most brilliant, unbiased, thoughtful guys out there. Your family's seriously lucky to have you. Oh, thank you, man. That's incredibly kind for you to say. I hope you remain here with us on YouTube for several generations forward. Goddamn. Thank you, Laman. Laman's like, I'm your #1 fan, bro. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that. Irvin, I'm glad you went back and watched that. That shit was funny, man. That shit was so funny. But you know, I was just saying that I watched this video and it was on a study that was conducted with thousands and thousands of people, and it was just asking the question, like, how much more money would you need to make you happy? That was the question. More specifically, how much more money would you need to be happy? And the conclusion was, now granted, or keep in mind, every person that they asked this question to, they would find out what their financial situation is. How much money were they making a year? You know, what was in their bank account? And they would compare it. And what was really fascinating to me, and I guess this is just what made the whole study fascinating, is the most common response across all financial ranges, from the poorest of the poor to the richest of the rich and everybody in between, the answer that was given the most was, I need a little bit more than what I have. Just a little bit more. And I find that so fascinating because it reveals the faulty, well, it's not faulty, but today it feels kind of faulty, like the somewhat faulty programming of our brains, where, like, that's crazy. What I watched Dreamcast Guy for the thumbnails of him choking himself. Did I miss something, bro? Sorry. But that it's just so fascinating to me that it's like, that's interesting that a person who's actually extremely well off and, you know, rich, right? They would have the same answer that somebody who's very poor would have, which is, I just need a little bit more than what I have now. And it makes you realize that there's something about this life, and I guess just the way everything's set up, where it's like, it seems like you have to consciously decide. We're in the Matrix. We probably are. Do not get me on that. I will have to change this shit to a members lounge. Okay? Do not get me on that. But it's like, we have to consciously decide when enough is enough. You know? Like that's an actual, it's an action that needs to be taken. Like a decision that needs to be made. Because if you're not consciously making that decision, then it does seem like we are just simply programmed to want more, you know, more and more and more. Even if it's a little bit more, it's still more. And I assume that's a survival mechanism. Like, I assume that's, you know, that's probably a byproduct of how we've had to survive throughout, you know, all of human history, only to only recently get to this point where it's like, you know, I think about my circumstances, and I'm only human, you know, like, there are times where I get really frustrated. I'm like, this isn't enough. You know, everything I have, it's not enough. And it's like, well, look a little bit closer at what you have. State of MBG. Look a little bit closer at what you have. Think a little bit deeper about what it is. And really ask that question again and contemplate the answer. You know? So sorry. You don't have to apologize for going off topic. What brand of drums do I play? I play Yamaha. It's a Yamaha kit. You are where dinosaur era is no longer with us, right? I don't know what you're saying. I'm sorry, but I don't know what you're saying. But yeah, I just I think about that because I think about what it is I want with my YouTube channel, you know? And I think about what it is I want from life. And I guess those two things are very closely intertwined. I think about what it is I want from gaming, right? And we always think about our wants. And maybe that alone is, if you have the privilege to be able to think about your wants, that's probably because your needs are being met. See? See? And so the saying, it could be worse. It's tough though, man. I'm making it sound I'm making it sound like I'm some kind of guru. I'm not. I'm weak a lot of times, man. Like I'm too human. I lack discipline over my emotions. I don't know. There's a lot of things I need to get a hold of, is what I'm saying. Shadowlink with a $5 chat says people just live above their means, and when their money increases, they buy more, leaving them wanting. You just got to live below your means. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, is like I don't know, man. Life and the systems that surround us and that we're at the mercy of, just fascinate me. Where it's like the idea of living below your means, it shows like a restraint, it shows like a discipline, where it's like, I have this much and I could do all this with this much, but I'm only choosing to do this amount with this much, and I'm going to refrain. And it, like, to me, that's interesting, because it's like you're simulating survival. You're simulating, Luna, you good? You're simulating what somebody who doesn't have enough potentially would also be experiencing. Maybe not exactly, but close enough to it. Where it's like, a person who doesn't have enough has to work hard, usually, to ensure they get just enough to make it over the hump, And I think where that comes from is, I think it's human evolution, right? Like, our entire nervous system, our entire biology is designed around surviving in a harsh, threatening world where, our bodies are programmed to you talk about stress. Stress is bad for you. Stress kills. Stress ages you. Stress is actually good. But there's like two types of stress. There's the acute stress, which is the good one, which is why we work out, by the way. Like, why is it that people go exercise recreationally? Why do we get endorphins when we exercise? We're like literally hurting our bodies. Is this a members lounge without knowing it? Perhaps. Just a micro members lounge. We do this because it's like our body essentially rewards us for, I don't want to say damaging it, but like the adrenaline pumps, the muscles work, the muscles break down. Your body, is supplying oxygen to, it's rerouting oxygen to the most vital organs, because this is literally what our bodies had to do to allow us to survive threatening encounters in the past, where it's like, you might have to fight a fucking wild animal and only one of you is walking away. So that's what we had to do for like, a lot of human history. And then that eventually ends up channeling itself into war, where, because we're so programmed that way, we're so programmed to just keep in the, being in that survival state and always wanting more, once we become more sophisticated, it channels into land, territory, and that ultimately converts into warfare. And I guess that kind of hasn't changed, but it's just, I don't know, man. I start thinking on like a really deep level about humanity and the world, and it's overwhelming. I'll be like, my thoughts overwhelm me, in case that's not obvious. I fixate on things because I get completely overwhelmed by, you know, all the different things I think, because I get freaked out by the idea that, like, I don't know anything. I have awareness and consciousness. These are the names that we've given to these things that we seemingly have. And yet I don't know anything. And it freaks me the fuck out. Like, it really does. It really freaks me out, man. I learned the hard way. I was making 40K less than I do now, and I was in the same exact position. Since then, I'm not paying off debt, so I have more and can spend when I want. And yeah, it's a sense of freedom, you know? I think what everybody wants is a sense of freedom and a sense of security. But I think that, and I'm not trying to say this in a negative way, and Shadowlink, I'm not bringing you down, bro. But it's just a thought that it's like a simulated, like I'm simulating something, right? I'm simulating what would it be to get to the end goal. If I have a goal in mind and I get to the end goal, what then, right? Assuming I make it. It's like, I think no matter how good things are in your life from a materialistic standpoint, like you're again, all your needs are met. You're not starving. You're well sheltered. You can do what you want when you want. You have financial freedom. You can do whatever you want. I still think, like, it's why I think a lot of people, even when they become extremely wealthy, like, they end up going on these, like, it's almost like, I don't care about any of that anymore. They end up going in a different direction, like seeking something else. And I just find that so fascinating, because it's like, what is that? That says something so profound about life and the human experience, and I guess maybe consciousness and awareness, where it's like, when you get to that end stage of you've conquered this world, in a sense, right? You've conquered the physical world. Maybe you have your health, you know, and assuming you're not like dying or something, and maybe you have a wife, you have a family, you've done everything. You've done everything, but then there's something beyond, something deeper that you search for. That's truly fascinating to me, you know, and that's maybe where the spiritual aspect comes in, and the whole idea of, like, it's almost like there's a limit. You know, there's a limit. It's almost like, if you view it from like the angle of a video game, like each level that you're in, there's a level cap, right, for each new area. And if Earth is an area that you're in, there's a level cap to it, you know? And if you reach that level cap, it's like, well, you're only going to level up more if you go to the next level, which would be the fourth dimension. If you didn't reach your level cap, you probably got to come back to the third dimension and keep grinding away. You got to get good. What I'm trying to say, as I usually say, life is basically Dark Souls. So that's it. I hope that helps you, Shadowlink. Devil's Fury saying, I saw a short. I'll try to find it, where nurses over here regrets of people. Number one, regret wishing they didn't focus on money. Yeah, I mean, I could believe that, because it's true what they say. You don't take it with you, you know? It's like you die and you're like at the gates getting ready to be judged. And it's like, first question, how much did you make in your lifetime? It's like, what? Oh, yeah, that mattered. Could you imagine? Irfan, you're asking me to read your last. Hold on. For some reason, it's not showing up. I always do this. I'm going to end the stream in 10 minutes, 30 minutes later. I should have just made this a members lounge today. Irvin says, I was a mess for years, a terrible human being. Only faith and faith alone saved me from my astray. You know, it's funny. That's what Mrs. MBG. Oh, you tagged Titus? Oh, it's okay. Was that you meant to tag me? No, I know. And it's funny, because that's what Mrs. MBG talks to me about too. You know, she's like, gotta have faith. It's hard. That faith is such a strange thing to me because it's like you can't. Faith is something that truly can only come from the individual. You know, it really, that's what makes it tough for me. And Gav House comes in. He says, in case we do another members lounge at some point, an actual members lounge. And I have another direct donation too. Gav, let me add that to the goal. I appreciate that, man. Lucky Luke comes in again with another $20 direct donation. Bro dropped $120 in direct donations today. It's not enough, Luke. I need more. More. No, it's more than enough, bro. You're saying the moment you find resonance, the nature of our universe becomes inherently knowable. Everyone is on their own path. Don't despair. See, like, I have that thought sometimes. I don't know that I word it like that. I don't know if I can word it that well, but it's, I don't know, man. It all freaks me out. Like, I sometimes question, do I feel freaked out because I am in the process of experiencing a simulation of separation? And that the whole purpose of the simulation is to get closer to the feeling of wholeness or an understanding of that wholeness. And like the closer you get to that, the better you feel. It's really like, cause think about it. Like, what if we talk about like faith? What is faith? Faith is I mean, my interpretation of faith is essentially the belief that something good will happen, that something better will happen. You know, I mean, I guess you could have faith in something bad, technically, but it just feels like it's the idea. Faith. I think what is the literal definition of faith? Actually, faith definition. The literal definition: complete trust, confidence, or firm belief in someone, something, or an idea, often without needing physical proof. Well, there you go. I couldn't beat that definition. Faith. See that everything it says here, faith is the complete trust, confidence, and firm belief in someone, something, or an idea. All those things I lack. I lack complete trust. I lack complete confidence. And frequently I lack firm beliefs. But I think my reasoning for lacking those things is similar to most other people, where it's like, I had those things at one point, but then things happen. I experienced things that change that for me, you know, where I'm now, and I guess I contemplate fear. Fear's a big one, where like, I think fear is the root of all evil, you know? I mean, not to get all biblical up in here, but it's like the idea of the devil, the idea of Satan, the evil one. What I always found so interesting about the devil or Satan is that there's this notion that all he can do, all it can do, whatever it is influence you, is convince you, is turn you on yourself, you know? And I just find that fascinating because it is the idea we have free will, but you know, what drives people to do bad things most of the time? Not all the time, but most of the time, it's fear. Fear is what drives people to do bad things. You know, people panic. People tend to, you know, insecurity. If people are made to feel insecure, if people are made to feel vulnerable, if people are made to feel pain through those vectors, it all leads down to fear. You know, if you are in pain, if somebody causes you pain, you don't like, nobody likes how pain feels. The pain goes away. What happens? You develop a fear of returning to that pain, you know? And it's, I don't know. Life is such a weird, complicated thing, man. He's like a roaming lion looking to steal, kill, and destroy. Who are you talking about, Nico? Yeah, faith, man. I I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know if I'm going to end up having faith or not. I want to. I don't want to try too hard. I feel like if you try too hard to have faith, it's not natural, you know, like you can't force it. Faith has to be something that occurs on its own. But I think you can set yourself up maybe to better position yourself to it. Like Mrs. MBG's been talking to me about energy recently, and she's been talking to me about like how I think like she said something to me earlier. She was like, I don't think you're allowing like the positive energies that are trying to enter your life. You're not allowing them to come in, you know, like you're maybe not directly rejecting them, but indirectly rejecting them. And I guess that is true I can't deny that's true to an extent, but it's interesting because I think about why is that? Like it's when I contemplate why is that? Why would I do that? Like why would I indirectly reject something good that's trying to come into my life? And maybe I don't even realize it, and it's because it's the other things that I'm focused on. You know, I'm focused on my pain. I'm focused on my anxiety. I'm focused on, you know, it's like I said, I'm running through the world thinking about tomorrow, thinking about what comes next, always thinking about this, always thinking about that. And it's like, well, you know, there's not much room for other things. And so I don't know, man. You know, we also get to a point where we start to you can't, it becomes hard to determine like how much of it is controllable. You know, how much of it is like you can control this, you can overcome this. And this is another kind of conundrum of the human experience of like how much of it is psychological, how much of it is physical, how much of it is mental and emotional, and like how do you separate those things? How do you separate the worm from the apple? And it feels like the longer life goes on, the more you experience, the more complex things become, the more complex your mind becomes, and sometimes the more complex your behaviors become. It becomes very difficult, almost like everything becomes knotted up, and you can't really tell like what's at the center of it. You know, like is it physical? Is it all physical? Is it like, you know, it's a chicken and egg scenario? So these are all things that I think people, especially as you get, again, the further you go in life, you experience it at some point, certain aspects of it. And I don't know. I guess my father-in-law said something to me not that long ago that it kind of stuck with me. And he was like, I think it was my birthday or something. We were talking about age. And I think my father-in-law, I think he's in his early 60s now. And he was like, yeah, the 30s are weird. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, like, you know, when you're in your 30s, it's a weird time. But he's like, your 40s are going to be great. I'm like, oh, like it made me feel better. I'm like, okay, so maybe this is kind of normal, you know, like at the age I'm at and, you know, where we are, where I am at 32. And maybe it won't be the entirety of my 30s, but it's like, maybe this is kind of a common thing. I think they say that you don't truly become, you're not in true, full, complete, like final form adulthood until like around 30 years old. Between 28 and 31, I think is the, like, that's, I think there are like recent studies that showed that that's truly when the brain is, you know, that's when you're done. So maybe it would make sense that if that's the case, your 30s, you're pretty much spending that decade or that time period, like now figuring out and you know, beginning to really experience like this is final form adulthood, and what you're experiencing now is likely what you're going to experience for the rest of your life, whether you're alive for another 10 years or another 40 years or 50 years, you know? And so maybe it can be a little bit jarring. Buzz says, bro, I'm 29, I still live at home. That's okay. That's common these days, man. It's probably not even your fault at this point. No judgment here. Fucking economy is crazy. People are not, you know, we're not set up to, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. It's like, oh, actually kind of unfair. And Vlun drops a $10 super chat. He says, Millennial Bible verses. W to those who take L's from this life. Well, let me. W to those who take L's from this life, for they will receive an everlasting W. Trust you have crushed it and have the eternal W. So they did the true bros. So did the true bros before you. Thank you, Vlun. That's exactly Millennial Bible verses. Is that? Did you just make that up, Vlund, or is that actually like a thing? Are Millennial Bible verses actually a thing? Because that's I like it though. I like it. You know. W to those who take L's from this life. Irfan, you're saying, MBG, if you want, we could talk about faith, all that on Discord. I really want that to happen. Maybe we should create. I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous about that because I get worried that I get nervous about talking about it here sometimes too because faith very much is tethered to a religion and it can become. It's like much like politics. It can become very hairy very quickly. But so like I'm not sure. I don't know if I would want to have like a section of the Discord where it's like faith talk. I don't know. If I did, there'd have to be like some pretty strict rules of like it's got to be super respectful. Not a bad idea though. Oh, private chat. Perhaps. Got to be careful about that parasocial relationship type thing, Irfan, Got to have limits. Everyone's like, I must teach you the ways. MBG, we got to have faith in the PS6. You guys basically got like an old school members lounge. A little bit of an old school members lounge. I probably should have made it a members lounge. It's okay though. It's okay. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with members content, man. I'm still so torn on it. I hate to admit that because it just seems like I just don't know what I'm doing, but it's like I can't read the tea leaves when it comes to members content, man. Like sometimes it feels like I got to do as much possible members content. Sometimes it feels like it doesn't even matter, That's like the biggest thing for me is I don't know that it matters. I can't quantify it. I have all the data, but when I look at the data, it's like I don't know. Like the data tells me like maybe this matters, probably not, but we don't know. It feels like it's like I'm asking a question that I'm not going to get an answer to. So I'm just trying to view it as like I should try to just do members content when I can, when it feels right, when it happens naturally, and there's no expectation attached to it other than this is just a reward for those who are who are members, a little extra bonus. It does seem like the last couple member videos I made you guys liked. I just can't deny that it's like anytime here's the thing. Anytime I think about doing members content, I have a lot of ideas. It does require a substantial amount of extra work, which I usually don't mind doing, but I keep running into the same problem, guys, which is that I keep burning myself out in ways that it's like I can't push through it. Like it's only going to get worse. Like I have to listen to what my mind and my body are telling me, because if I don't, I'm making the not worse, right? And that's the problem I run into sometimes with trying to do members content is I bite off more than I can chew. And I realize like, okay, well, it's like with the members lounges, one of the reasons I haven't been doing them is because it's hard. It's like by the time I feel bad. It's like I've streamed for 3 or 4 hours. I've said everything I could possibly say on like these particular topics. And then I feel like when I go into the members lounge, not only am I exhausted, but I'm giving my members like the leftover scraps. I'm like that. But I don't know. I don't know if like, again, I don't know if people really want that or not. I don't know, man. I gotta have some faith though. I gotta reconnect. I gotta meditate. That's what I gotta do. Meditation stream. Easiest stream of my life. I should do a crazy stream, and I don't know if this would be crazy. Crazy is probably not the right word. I should do a stream. It's called Stream of Silence, where I just don't talk. I just sit here and don't talk. Doesn't that sound exciting, guys? That's best idea I ever had. You know what? I'll do it. I know what to do. I talk when we hit the goal. I talk when we hit the goal. When we hit the member goal, I talk. I'm paving a new way forward. See, Sony should hire me. I got the great business models. More like stream of weirdness. The most awkward stream ever. Okay. Not only do I not talk, I have to maintain eye contact with the camera at all times. So let's simulate what that would be like. How long would you guys be willing to sit there and stare at that until somebody's like, fuck it, I'm just going to drop the member so we hit the goal? Genius. I found my new way forward. It is weird, right? It's uncomfortable. It probably starts to make you feel like, can he see me right now? I can. I know you're naked right now. I wish I didn't know, but I know. All right. I think that's going to be it. Can you look straight into the camera and not smile? I just did. All right, guys. I think that's going to wrap up today's stream, though. I was supposed to end it like almost an hour ago. I really do need to end it now, though, because if I don't, I'm going to completely take myself out of commission because my neck is fucking killing me right now. I'm going to have to go lay down for a bit and I'm assuming my muscles are fucking tightening up. Before we go, though, you talking to me? No, we have Zanarkand Blitzer comes in with a $10 chat. Thank you, buddy. And he says, MBG, good news. The games you had trouble streaming and froze on your PC the other day, Army Men and Army Men 2, are on GOG, man. Get them with DRM free and maybe have better luck. I'm going to make my own physical copies of Army Men 1 and 2. That's cool that they're on GOG, though. Yeah, eventually I'll have to go check out GOG. I'll get around to it. One step at a time. We've made some progress, though, man. I would have never thought I was going to make a Steam account. Here I am. So, thank you for letting me know, though, Zanarkand. I appreciate that, buddy. Do some cardio. I mean, just gassing out. I don't think cardio would help me right now. Have I pre-ordered MGS Master Collection Volume 2 yet? No, I have to get on that soon, though, if I want to get a physical copy. Although, somebody gifted to me, that person named Hellfire, I think, gifted me on Steam the upcoming Collection Volume 2. So I'll have access to it on Steam, and maybe I want to make sure to have a physical copy as well. So I'll probably try it out on Steam, too, just to see what it's like, though, and compare. But I'm very much excited for that. But all right, guys, that's going to wrap up today's stream. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Really appreciate it. I know we kind of just had like a redundant topic conversation again. So maybe I'll take tomorrow off, take a rest day, perhaps, and let things kind of like naturally gestate a little bit. Sometimes I think I might be streaming too much, not like hourly. I just mean literally, maybe I have to just put some breaks in between to keep it fresh, perhaps. We'll see. But big shout out to everybody who dropped support today. If you dropped memberships, super chats, direct donations, shout out to was it Lucky Luke, who came in and I think dropped like $120 in direct donations. Thank you for that, man. And thank you for everybody else if you drop super chats or memberships. Really, really appreciate it. I can only do what I do here because you make it possible. Irfan, what did you send me? Oh, boy. Hopefully you guys didn't hear that. Irfan, it's even crazier. It's even crazier in the actual proper context of like watching the gameplay. Like it doesn't feel real. Guys, if you want to hear it, click on Irfan's link, boss. Bro, okay. That's it. I got to give a shout out to it's Rogue Warrior, so go in at your own discretion. Shout out to Devil Shooter who does the timestamps for the streams. Devil Shooter, thank you for that, man. If you guys see him in the comments with those timestamps, give him some thanks, show him some love. Irfan, thank you, bro. Ray, RU46N2 Ray dropped the Discord link. You can join the Discord, and he also dropped the P.O. box if you want to send anything over. Guys, that's going to do it. That P.O. box is real, Zanarkand. Just a heads up. The P.O. box is closing at the end of August. I'm just saying. So, in that, for anybody who is interested, if you want to send anything over in the P.O. box, that is real, but it's closing on the 30th, okay? All right, guys, that's it. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll catch you in the next one. Till then, take care, everyone.